Blembao Chicken Shamin, Khetwa aka Bekwa, and a whole bunch of other AKAs. The Sobering Podcast, Season 8, Episode 23. Yeah. Jordan. You know what?
LeBron,
Jordan.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Frank, aka Young Shakespeare, because I play right. You feel me?
That's nice. I like that. Kiki to our fates. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. And it's a special one, man. Special. You know, stay low, keep firing. Stay low. Hey, got the Stay Low gang here. You know, Vaughn.
No paperwork needed.
No paperwork needed. Fred from yesterday. How you feeling?
What's up, gents?
What's going on?
Yeah, we're good, man. Good.
Man, I mean, you guys are both alumni. It was just like last year when we kicked it, right? Or was it the year before?
It was last year.
Like a year ago.
I think it was the year before.
Last year.
Was it beginning?
Hold on.
I think it was the year before, bro. Nah, it was last year before the fight.
It was late 2022, bro.
Yeah.
It was late
Damn.
2022.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Yeah, time goes by.
Yeah, it was late 2022.
Quickly. It definitely wasn't this year.
It wasn't this year. Yeah,
That's all that matters.
It wasn't this year.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just gauging it from what we were working on at that time, and it was before we dropped Kayembe's project, because I think I spoke about that.
Yes.
We spoke about a couple of other things, and we spoke about then we were working towards Priddy's album.
Yes.
So those
You're
22.
absolutely
That's a while, bro.
absolutely right. That's a while.
But, you know, we had Fred before the visuals.
Yeah.
I've been on the podcast 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred's like the fourth.
Yeah, he's definitely alumni and honorary sobering member.
Yeah, absolutely. SoundCloud days,
SoundCloud
baby.
days.
SoundCloud
He used
days.
to honor his annual appearance, and then he became a director. It's like,
Nah.
It ain't like that. It ain't like that. Come on, man. Come on. This is family here, bro. They don't even know how far back we go. Come on.
That's true.
Yeah,
It's
before
really
visuals
far,
and shit.
man.
Yeah.
Before visuals, before partying even.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's actually been a long time, man. But yo, man, how you feeling, dog?
Yeah, I mean, we good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a big ass year, bro.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy year.
Yeah, big ass here. I mean, you guys have been doing a lot, launching new space, right? Now, I think.
Yep.
And, you know, been working on multiple projects, launching new, event properties. Just take us through what the year has been so far from a Stay Low perspective, man.
Sure, man. I think, bro, I think by the time this comes out, we'll have launched relaunched this venue officially, which has been the most recent project over the last few weeks. So the 2020 Club will be something that Stay Low curates and sort of runs as an extension of everything else we've done. We just felt like it would be nice to have like a space where we could use as a collaboration space for people, obviously within our ecosystem, but also outside of it, you know, guys like yourselves, if you want to do podcasts, if we want listening sessions, we got a couple of cool things we want to do with some friends of Stay Low, some people that, you know, we do work with, and guys that we just like, and, you know, so it's sort of this, the sort of the space that we just wanted to create. So that's what the 2020 Club is and what it's going to sort of grow into. And outside of that, man, we've had a crazy year just as Stay in Entertainment in general. I think, like, you know, not just the Stay Low part, just in general, like at Stay in Entertainment, we've had to do a lot of like restructuring, a lot of like, I don't know how many. This is probably the year we've looked at Excel sheets the most in our lives, bro. Like just like figuring out like how to, you know, convert these properties we have into like real currency and make them make sense, you know, for everybody involved, partners, internally, customers, from our events and festivals perspective. And then, you know, ultimately, you know, Stay Low, we had a crazy start to the year. You know, one of the first things we did was drop Dust, and we released Dust at the top of this year, in January. So that was like a massive start to the year. And then shortly after that, we signed Marcus Harvey, and then we obviously released his debut album. Oh, not debut album, sophomore album. Which, I mean, that's another wave of
big team.
of work, you know. And then we've been working on albums in the background, quite a lot of projects. We've been working on Zulu Maker's debut album quite thoroughly. Obviously, Mars Baby's debut album, which has been submitted and will be released top of next year. We're starting to roll out some singles now. And then in between that, what else, bro? Oh, I mean, Good Work.
Yeah.
Good Work is our new live event property.
Yeah.
Which we launched with Mick Jenkins.
Yeah.
And no, Paperwork is continuing to do its thing. Like, that's just something we want to do for, like, you know, just for the culture, bro, and just really for like for the industry, man. There's not enough platforms that allow that type of thing to happen without like anything weird, you know. So we just like wanted to put it out there for people to do, and it's like done really well, man. It's quite cool, like the kind of love we get from it, and all the different types of artists we can put on there. So that's, you know, something that we keep running with. Man, I don't know if
I think also we in the event space we curated in the city. We curated the In the City lineup with Mareba and Jordan Ward.
Yes.
That was pretty cool. I mean, it's you know, beneficial in some ways to be, you know, connected to the network and ecosystem of like estate entertainment, because those opportunities come by, and that was a pretty cool experience as well, you know. So yeah, but yeah, in general, like Vaughn said, we've just been working.
Yeah, bro. I think to sort of summarize the majority of what this year has been like, it's like really trying to lock into like creating sustainable business. That's really like really where it comes down to, man. It's like we've I think like over the last 4 years, Stay Low's been around for 4 years now, right? We opened in 2020, so in the midst of lockdown. So you can understand, like, and then you guys know what it was like, bro. The first 2 years from 2020 to 2022. I mean, it's safe to say like nothing was happening, bro. It was the shit was dead, right? So like you launch a label in that time, you know, which is like a massive credit to guys like Dale and you know, the investors at Stay Entertainment to like take that type of chance or that type of risk on something like that in that time, right? So but you can so you kind of set fundamentals up for those 2 years. You can't start building, we start also like putting together what we think the ideas are to make this thing work. You learn a lot of lessons, and then 2 years, it's only been 2 years after like we could officially say that things kind of started moving a little normally. I mean, I remember dropping Soil was 2021, right? So June 2021. And that was still like there was still 6 months of lockdown following that.
We all called COVID when we shot the video for Soil. Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I was like color grading because I was the only guy not sick. So I was like color grading the video, bro. What the hell is that? Because everyone was sick. Like that's the kind of things we were dealing with. So you can imagine like, so you kind of see the light at the beginning of 2022, and then you find ourselves here 2 years later, and it's like 2 years of trying to now take sort of the momentum and the positioning and then create like sustainable business. I think that's been the mission for the last 12 months, and I'd say we're getting a lot closer to that.
Oh, dope. Hence the name of this place is like the 2020 Club.
Absolutely.
There we go, bro.
Oh,
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we started then.
Yeah, just before we veer off too far from the venue, I don't know if you want to guys tell people where it's at and what it used to be, because people know the space. People frequent the space.
For sure. So I mean, I guess people have already kind of figured out that this is our base, right? I'm not trying to encourage people stay pulling up here and you know, trying to pass out CDs or but
it's fine.
Yeah, but you know, so we're at Hallmark House in Johannesburg, New Doornfontein, right by Maboneng. We've invested a lot into the space, and you know, subsequently it's become kind of our base. As Stay Low, and so I guess the rooftop space has existed. People are familiar with it in different iterations. It's kind of like been a place still that we've, you know, on and off kind of collaborated with guys. It's a rent for hire venue. But yeah, kind of like we were talking about, you know, what we wanted to, like, in many ways, what the next steps were for us, right? And we wanted to have like a spot that really anchored us, right? As yes, we're a record label, but we're also like a cultural movement.
Yeah.
You know, and so this was like a space that was like available, that not available, but that was like, that made sense for us. I mean, aesthetically, it's like, you know, it's beautiful, the 360 view of Johannesburg. But, you know, what it's meant to us over the years is like, you know, immeasurable. And for us to be able to, like Vaughn said, to anchor ourselves and create, like, we want this to be like a cultural spot, bro. You know what I mean? Like I, you know, shout out to like the broke boys out there in Cape Town. But I remember, like, you know, when we were growing up and in the streets, there were always spots that were like, you know, whether it was like, you know, in Brahm or like, you know, there were always spots that everybody like frequented. Yeah, you didn't need to have like a reason, you know, to pull up, but you knew that you were amongst, you know, people that you shared community with, people that you shared like values with. It was like a good time. And so we're going to be doing a lot of exciting things in the space. It's not like one dimensional, you know what I mean? It's like we're going to have listening sessions here. We're going to have game nights here. We're going to have a whole lot of different
jam
things.
sessions.
Yeah, jam sessions, you know, and any given day, like, you know, you could just, you know, pull up here. I don't know.
Like a full menu. Like we're gonna do quite a lot of things. And the main thing is we just want to get it started, bro.
Yeah.
One thing we've realized over the last few years, and really with everything that we do, is like you just actually have to just start, bro.
Yeah.
Start,
Just
and then
get
the
your
stuff
foot in.
becomes stuff, you know. Especially if you have the intention. If you start with the intention of it becoming something,
For sure.
sometimes that thing develops as you go along, bro.
Yeah.
It's just really the getting from A to B, and then just let that develop. So
For sure.
we know what our intentions are with the space, and we encourage everybody to come and check it out, man, and come and do your thing here, bro. Like hit us up if you got ideas.
Yeah.
If you want to collaborate, if you got some cool shit you want to do, like it's open for that, you know.
Nice.
That's mad dope, man. That's mad dope. But in terms of like when you're talking about from a music perspective, right? And I think we were also just speaking about like things like the art of rollout, you know, and how that's almost like a dying thing. It's almost like artist development, even how people just shove it to the wayside. But this seems like both of those things that I mentioned, things that you guys are very active in, you know what I mean? Like in terms of the development that you've put especially your R&B artists in, you know what I mean? It's been a long road. You know, you guys have been working with Mars Baby for, you know, since I've known you as Stay Low. You know, Mars Baby has been, you know, there, Marabi Club, he's doing something, you know, with like, amongst the people I know and things of that nature. And then, of course, from a rollout perspective, you know, you guys still stick to that. You know, you still stick to that art like you guys did with the Marcus Harvey project and how you did the pre and post rollout to that. What's the reason in terms of rooting your ethos in that, you know, in terms of still sticking to artist development and rollouts as opposed to what's happening with the rest of the industry?
I think we could probably both speak on that, but like I think on the artist development side, like I'm quite like the way Fred and I kind of like work at Stay Low is we run the business together, so we're quite involved on a business level, but there's like disciplines that we both sort of have realized over the years that we're just better at than one another, right? So I'm quite heavily focused in the music side, so I spend a lot of time in the studio with the artists. I spend a lot of time like at rehearsals with artists. I do a lot of executive production and sort of curation from a musical perspective. And then Fred sort of, you know, heads up a lot of where we go with like ideation and create and sort of the creative side, so like visuals and idea generation about how we kind of like bring stuff to life from a creative perspective. So like he kind of heads that up as like let's just say as like the main shot caller, whereas I'll be like more on the product side, on the music side. But it is always a collaborative effort. Like there's always a lot of things. Like we bounce things off each other all the time, whether or not it's in its final phase. It's not like we hand it over and say, "Yo, run with it." It's like it's a collaborative. But that's sort of how we position like our thing. So from an artist development perspective, bro, I think that the thing about that is that like, you know, it's like what you said. It isn't happening. Okay, so these days nobody really spends a lot of time developing artists because their intention is not that. You know, their intention is to make a viral hit and milk that for what it's worth. But nobody really spends time working with an artist on how they perform, what stage presence is like, what's the best way to approach certain songs. Like, I mean, bro, we go so far as to go like, when you perform in between these songs, like what story are you telling? Like what are you saying over here? How do we bring this theme of your career into like a live setting? Because, you know, as much as the industry's changed and things are like TikTok-y and things are like so consumed so quickly, like the one thing that we that doesn't go away, no matter how much that is maybe the thing that is in the forefront of what people are experiencing day to day, is the live experience of someone.
Yeah.
It is the human, the part, bro. You can't remove that, bro. It's still one of the most impactful ways to get to people, right?
Yeah.
So and to be an effective performer, you need to be developed, bro. It's like training. It's like being a good sportsman. You have to be able to. You have to have a coach. You have to have a team. You have to be able to show up and perform, right? So the way I look at it, and I think our ethos at Stay Low is like, we are an artist development place. We do take a lot of care into like building our artists, and we do it because, number one, I think that when you're thinking about the longevity of a career, that's the fundamental thing. It's like we have to have sustainable careers. We want to create sustainable brands, not just brands that are hot for a year or two and maybe went viral or have one hit. It's like, no, can you do this for 10, 15 years and make a living from it and build value over that time, right? That you have to be developed for that. So I think that as a business model, if you're thinking about longevity, that's a reason why we do it. But also because I think that there's a lot of value and a lot of reward in being people that care in a world that doesn't. You know, so I think like a little bit of it will be like philosophical, and like what we'd consider our integrity. But another side of it is that we believe, and we can also see it making sense from a business perspective, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you got to offer something different in a market where everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I just to add on to that, we are definitely in the business of building careers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, that's not by any means like a super like profound statement, but it is in these times, right? So and I think that starts with everybody that we work with, and it sounds ridiculous like to have to say this, but everybody that we work with, we believe in. Do you know what I mean? Like we like fundamentally believe in. So from that perspective, it's not that hard, like to start off. It's like we're really fans of Mars Baby. We're really fans of Lord K's. We're really fans of Mecca and Hannah Ray and Marcus and everybody, Shooter and everybody that's on the label. So it's like that's where it starts off, right? And it's like, unfortunately, and we're not the only ones that are like victim to this. We've heard all of the rhetoric about, in these times, like short attention spans because of social media and the disposability of music and content and media in general. But like, there's no way to cheat that. Do you know what I mean? Like there's actually no way to cheat that. It's like, I think it's like funny. I always like, whenever you're on social media, it's like you always see like hacks for like life hacks for stuff, right? Yeah. And it's like music is like one of the arenas that like that doesn't apply. Yeah, it's like you might think that you're doing it. Like you might think that you might get some instantaneous success and then do it, and then like be able to go on for like a bit and catch up. But with music, like, and art, I think in general, there's no way to cheat that. Like I'm very precious about like rollouts, like personally. I'm very precious about rollouts, but just because like all of the things that are memorable to me and special to me, like from the things that grew me up when I was younger, whether that's like television or like music or clothes, like there's like sensory things that live like viscerally in my head. And it's like, I always think about that, like when we're creating, like the impact that like had on me, like when I was younger, and like trying to recreate that in our own like unique way. You know what I mean? And so it's like and it doesn't always have to be this like crazy like financial like investment, right? I know like sometimes it looks like that, but it's just because we're really good at our jobs. like scary good. You know,
Listen to Fred, but it's true.
Yeah.
It is true though. It's commitment, bro.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
commitment and intention, and it's like getting on the same page with the collective.
Yeah.
Because that's how you keep consistency. I would say most of the stuff we've done
Yeah.
speaks to that. Like if I think about the 4 years, and I mean testament to that, those things coming together,
Right.
is like when we look at Fred and I had worked with Lord Cares and Mars Baby before Stay Low started.
Right.
When we got tasked and got joined the Stain Entertainment Group, they were the first two artists that we had brought across from what we were doing independently, right?
Yeah.
And we were already starting to work and develop them over there. I mean, right now, Cares is nominated for 2 Summers, Female Artist of the Year, R&B Album of the Year. You know, I'm saying that's one example of from the grassroots of what development and consistency in presentation allows for, right?
Yep.
It allows for 4 years later, 2 years of lockdown, a completely unknown SoundCloud artist to now be recognized on South Africa's largest music awards stage, right? And we know collectively and this is credit to the Summers for having the awareness and the ability to identify that, because back in the day, or I don't know exactly now, but we know how it was for independent labels, and when it comes to major award ceremonies, that's no secret what people have gone through there, right? And I look at that and I go, well, credit to the Summers. They're looking at now going, well, let's reward where we see where the credit is due, right? So I look at that's an example of what the combination of these things you're speaking about does, right? So when you ask why we do it, it's like, there we go. You know, there's Lord Cares, right? Another example of it is Priddy Ugly, right? And Dust.
Yeah.
Completely deserved.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things that I think collectively we're the most proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to the work we've done, right?
Yeah.
Is the Priddy Ugly story.
Yeah.
From you Priddy Ugly from 2020 onwards is a different Priddy Ugly from 2012 to 2020.
The past 10,
right?
15
the past 10,
years,
15 years, there's a very definitive part of his career that changed, and it happened when we started collectively working together with him, and the commitment on the consistency of idea development. At that point, Priddy was very developed as a artist, as a performer, as a things like that. There was different levels to this stuff, right? But what we added to it was that consistency and that ability to go, hey, bro, we've got this idea.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do. This is how we see it.
Yeah.
And watching that materialize, and for him to be absolutely like an absolute credible nomination, and potentially, in my opinion, like he's the winner. He's got to be the winner that summer, right? I look at that and I go, there's another example of that thing being applied to somebody in a completely different place in their career outside of the grassroots.
Yeah.
So that sort of answers the question as to why we do it and why that's our ethos, because it works.
Yeah.
Quick question: what attracts an Stay Low to an artist?
I think so each journey, our journey with each artist has been different.
Yeah.
Right. So we get asked this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what's the criteria? What's the metric? Can I fill out an application form and come and audition or rap? Yeah, is there paperwork? You know what I mean? But our journey with each artist has been completely different. I mean, in Mars Baby and Kez's cases, I mean, damn, I think, Vaughn's kind of told the story, but like, Kez was, when Vaughn and I linked up, it was like an interesting place in our respective lives, right?
Yeah.
He had kind of, severed the business relationship that he'd had with the label that he founded, Eagle Entertainment, and moved on. I had, walked away from, 7-8 years, doing my thing at Hype. And a funny story about that is like, when Vaughn and I started to work together, at the time we were running an agency called Coalition. And 2018, yeah. We're running an agency called Coalition, and it was like a creative and strategic agency. We offered various services to clients, copywriting, film production, that sort of thing. And one day we're driving back from a meeting, and I And Vaughn says to me, he's like, yo, what would you think about starting a record label? Like nothing too crazy, just like a boutique operation, maybe one or two artists that we really invest into, and we grow with them and we put our all into them, right? Because we'd had this, we're both music people, right? He came from a very strong music background, and then me as well, like, but through different sides. And I remember saying to him, I was like, yo, man, you know, with all the resources, when I say resources, I don't mean necessarily financial resources, but I was like, all the resources that we have and the experience that we have, I feel you. Like it would
Sounds
probably
like
be
a good idea.
We'd probably regret it in a few years.
This guy wasn't feeling
if we
it,
do.
bro.
Hold on. So, but I said to him, I'll do it if you want to do it, right? I'll say I do it if you want to do it, but I said my one condition is I don't want to deal with the artist.
Yeah, he did.
He's like I don't want to talk to nobody, right? So, but here, for some context, right? I mean, like you guys know, my history is well documented. It's like I was 19 years old, like thrust into the industry. Yeah, started out as a freelance writer for magazines, and you know, and I spent 8 years. And listen to this guy. When you're in that space, I mean, you guys know when you're in that space, like you experience everything. It was also like the wild west in music, but hip hop specifically, right? Because we were discovering things, learning. It was just crazy during that time, and so I became a little bit disillusioned, I want to say, and I was feeling like I wasn't challenged. And I just wanted to do something else, right? And so, like, when I left, I was like, yo, I'm not in. I mean, look at us now. It's like now we're running a full-ass operation.
But to answer that question, though, right? So do you want to finish about how we got into case?
So anyway, so we're doing coalition. We're doing coalition. I need to give the context.
This guy's gonna tell you a long story. You need it.
Yeah. This is why we're here, bro.
Yeah, bro.
This is why we're here.
I feel you now.
You feel me? So we're doing coalition. We like get onto Kez on SoundCloud. Yeah. And then Vaughn gets on a plane and goes to Cape Town. Meets up with Kez and her mom and you know her parents, and he's like, yo, this is what we want to do. We really believe in this. Kez is from Kimberley originally, small town. She had like an interesting few years, and she was living in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. Then ended up in Cape Town. Anyway, he gets there and he's like, yo, we believe in her, and we want to ask for your permission to just like work with her, right? And in the first few months, she was back and forth between them, and all of us were surprised. Like when I say all of us, you know, Shooter was there in the system and a few other guys that we started with. And I think that like the best thing about Kez, we always say this to one another, is like she saved us from being bitter old heads. Right? Yeah. Because that year was like 2018.
No, that was Fred. This is gonna happen to Fred a lot. He's gonna forget the years because it's like one big thing. That was 2019.
Was it 2019?
We started working in 2018.
Okay, shit, yeah.
But 2019 was Dark Moonflower year.
Oh yeah.
But after Dark Moonflower,
after that, right.
I left that.
Yeah.
And then, but I had found Kez 2018, and for a year I was a fan.
Right.
Top of 2019.
Yeah, she had like 2 songs.
On SoundCloud, 3 songs, 4 songs. Well,
so it took 4 songs to get your attention.
So basically, you take 4 songs.
But what Fred's saying is right though. Is like top of 2019 we had met her, and then through we were still Eagle Entertainment and Coalition. Fred and I were on Coalition, and I was still on Eagle Entertainment. And we started working with Kez because we just like, you know. Yeah. And then I just believed in her, right? So at that point, right, I can tell you what happened. I heard her music on SoundCloud, and I was like, and that's also what changed Fred's mind a bit, because I listened to it and I was like, damn, bro, this is that thing. So it's like when I first met Shane. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch The Hustle, bro. I don't know anything about this shit, dog. You see when you guys were talking just now about all that shit? Yeah. I don't know nothing, bro. I don't know. I just don't, bro. Like I just wasn't part of that thing like that.
You're not plugged into that thing.
No, I didn't. Like, I won't tell you, I didn't grow up like in those formative years, like really plugged into like the culture like that. So I was just a guy that I liked music. I listened to lots of different types of music, but I didn't know about like all the intricate things that you guys can sit and talk about shit. I'll be like, who's that guy? Oh, really? Who's that? Oh, shit, that's cool. And I'd like, and I'll start making sense of it in hindsight. But like, I never knew about things like that. So like, when I first like encountered Shane back in the day, 2015, I was like, damn, I have an idea for that. I felt like I have an idea for that. That's the same thing. That same feeling that I got when I first heard Kids. Okay. And I remember telling Fred, like, yo, bro.
Yeah.
Dog. This one is the one, bro. I can tell. It's like there's something we can work on with this. And then as we started doing that, and so she started hanging around, then Fred, like you come around to it, like, oh, we start to see, because obviously you have to trust each other in this stuff, right? Right. So he's gonna trust my intuition on that side, and when he comes to me and tells me, like, bro, I'm telling you, this is the way, I'm just gonna trust what he says. It's like a lot of the time, that's really where I think like good partnerships are developed, right? It's like trusting each other's intuition in the thing that you believe that they're the best at. That shit is like vital, right? So when it comes to the music stuff, I think Fred will just lean on me to trust my intuition on it, right? And then, but I might have an intuitive thought around like, I think I've got an idea for this artist. I can see where this could go. And then I'll run it past Fred because he's going to already understand the fundamental place I'm coming from. And then we'll collaboratively like discuss that and interrogate it and then make that decision. That was how Priddy Ugly,
for sure,
the Priddy Ugly decision came about because I always knew, bro, for years, dog. I'm like, this dude is misrepresented.
For sure.
In the way that he could be positioned. And then when me and Fred came together and scrutinized that, he was like, bro, I see what you're saying. It's the one. Or like he would have a way of doing that I would go, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's how we should do it, right? So to kind of like, Fred was 100% right in what he said. He was like, every artist, we come across them differently, right? But I think the fundamental part of like how you get selected to be, or selected to whatever, to be part of Stay Low, or to how we end up like wanting you to be part of the team, it's not going to be the same way as everybody else, but the fundamental thing is that there's actually a spark that I feel, and because I think over the last few years I've earned the credibility for guys to trust my intuition. That then we start a deliberation on that point, at that level, and then we'll scrutinize whether or not that's the right move. There's been times where I thought I've had that feeling, and then it's been interrogated by Fred and the team, Dale as well. He'll come through with a different way of looking at it, like from a super MD, in touch with what we're doing, but very like clinically business driven. That might make me go, you see, that's where you can drift between taste and strategy sometimes too. You know, there's like an important balance. So I think like that sort of could answer the question in the best possible way. It's like, it's going to like, does this person spark an idea? Do we have that intuitive feeling? And then do we see a sustainable career? I think that's the one of the things that we want to tick off. Because we want to be in the business for real of building sustainable careers. Man.
So, and there's no science to it. I think that when you look at like the guys that are on our roster, it's like I don't think that people would take like a Mars Baby and just like put them in the same buckets as like Marcus Harvey, right? It's like, it seems like an unlikely tandem, right? I mean, I'm not even talking about music. But I think that culturally, right, because the foundations of Stay Low and the brand and the business that we've built, it's like a lot of it is it has a lot of our DNA in it. I didn't mean to make that sound gross, but it has a lot of our. Was that a pause moment?
That's not pause moment.
It has a lot of our DNA in it, and it's like the kind of people that we are is like we're very like principle driven, right? And so that like the foundation of it is like, even though you might look at a Marcus Harvey and a Mars Baby and a Hannah Ray and go, these guys, it's not a crew, right? It's like these guys maybe don't make sense to be like in the same pocket or whatever, but like on a value system, it's like we feel about these artists like we've known them like forever. Like that's how it feels. Like from a visceral point of view, it's like Mars Baby is the same. It's like I have that rapport with like Marcus, who's from Alex, and he had like a completely different upbringing from Kez, who's from Kimberley, and had, you know, everybody. It's just like, it's really natural. Just because in the ways that matter, we are the same. Yeah.
Dope. I just want to track back a bit to what you said, and you guys sort of touched on it, I think, a couple more times, in that you say you're more, I mean, I'm not paraphrasing here, but you said you're more in the business of making careers. And for many labels are about making superstars. And I just want to know, when you're building careers more than superstars, how is that financially? Is there like a heavy toll, because also, to be quite honest, like you said, in the beginning, you set out to have a boutique label, quite niche and all of that, you know. So how are the sort of the financials there in terms of like you're maintaining this thing where you're building careers as opposed to going what others could assume as an easier route of stardom?
Yeah, that's what keeps us up at night. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm honest with you guys, like the truth is like making money in the music industry is hard, right? So like, let's start there. Like as a base, it's already difficult, right? Making money as a label is very difficult if you're not a major label or being funded by a major label and you're using your own resources or investors' resources. It's a difficult business, right? I think that the way that I think we got to think about it is to go. I mean, the way I think about it is to go like, who would we classify as like superstars? Like, I think first is like, because that's quite a broad term, right? It could be a lot of people, or it could be a very select few people, that depending on what criteria we're using to identify that, right? So I think, because now obviously in this specific question, like there's a part where it's like we're gonna use a bit of comparison. So we're gonna say versus what you're doing versus what they're doing. Why did you take this route, and how is that successful? So if I think about like who are superstars,
DJ Maphorisa.
Yeah. So in the South African context, Maphorisa is a very big name, and obviously he's reached that level. Kabza. You know,
Casper?
so I was gonna say we're gonna probably say Casper in your vest.
Yeah.
You know, are we slowing down? Like, are we gonna say Foka? Like, are you vocalistic? Yeah.
Foka,
I think Foka,
Waffles.
nasty waffles.
Waffles, of
All right.
Tyler. I mean,
Tyler's like the biggest star in the world.
Yeah.
Bang, right? So yeah. So let's just like use that category of people, right? I'm like, we're not in the business of saying we don't want to make superstars. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I think to start something and say we're gonna make superstars, I just feel it's a very pretentious place to start. When I say that, I'm saying, because what does that mean? And how do you do that?
Yeah.
Because that's someone just off the bat, I'm gonna call cap. Like, bullshit. You know what I mean? And it's like I would feel completely disingenuous saying to you, bro, like, I'm in the business of making superstars. Because I can't tell you the first goddamn thing about how to do that, bro. Like, honestly, like nobody can. If someone's gonna tell you they know how to make a superstar, cap. Right? And I'm not. No. I'm not saying there are people that know a little more than me in the way to do that in a certain way, for sure. But I don't think that there's a formula that people can apply and that works. I think that this thing is so specific and so much so down, like superstardom is very much down to like timing. It's very much down to like a lot of it in general. All of us have to experience luck. Nobody's successful without luck. Yeah. Absolutely no one's. Hard work is not the only reason that you become successful. You gotta have luck, right? And that comes with timing, and that comes with a lot of things. Always the cultural shift that when did certain things happen? Like all of that matters in building a superstar. If those things are not there, but your formula's there, that doesn't mean it might not work, right? So there's some things that are out of control when it comes to superstardom, you know? So I think like we're not in the business of building superstars. That's actually the way for us to think about this. We are in the business of building sustainable careers, because there I think that there's more of a reasonable approach and a reasonable assumption that if we apply consistency, high quality, patience, a level of managed, and this is where the financial thing comes in, a level of managed investment, which we have started to get better at understanding how to do. Because, bro, the truth is, it takes a lot of money to do this stuff, bro. It's a very like high upfront expenditure with a slower return.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
a high risk business.
Yeah.
All right. So how you de-risk those things is by planning for the long term. And I think that's where the idea of us going philosophically, we want to build sustainable careers, right? Because in the pursuit of a sustainable career, could you catch the luck required for superstardom?
Yeah.
I believe so, because the more you try, right, the more you can
increase your
possibly,
chances.
You increase the chances.
Yeah.
But if I'm saying, right now, this one, bang, superstar, I think that it's a bad business decision, because you might just throw everything at the kitchen sink at one opportunity, and that might you might not have the other things that you can't control happen for you, and then you're dead. So we are a boutique label in the sense that we're an independent label backed by investors. All right, through Stain Entertainment, and that's the Stain family business, right? That's like going, okay, we want to do a job in South Africa through this vehicle. All right, our responsibility is to make that make financial sense, whether that is the projection is over a period of time, manage that financial investment and that risk, and then to apply our skill sets to build sustainable brands, which essentially becomes sustainable careers, and then what we then sit and go, you know what, can the music gods align for us at some point and align for our artists that we believe in for a little bit of luck and a little bit of a chance and a little bit, the more you try, the luckier you get. I really hope that shit is the truth. Because obviously, if anybody can sit here and say that they're going to make a superstar and they're going to guarantee you that, dog, I don't believe it, bro. I just don't believe it, dog, because I'm saying, I don't think you can call that one that easily, man. You know what I'm saying? I think it takes the effort and the consistency. I think then it works.
There's no way to cheat it. I'm saying with and if you think that you're getting away with it, in time that thing will start to show.
Yeah.
I feel like everything in the music industry right now has shown us that. It's like these things that feel like, unexplainable, like, oh, what happened to this guy? Or like, oh, this dude was, it's like, there's no way to cheat it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
And I just wanted to add to that answer quickly, bro, because right now, superstardom, I would say, let's just use the word quite loosely, right? But like, it's like, the easiest way to think about that is to do what's extremely popular, right? And popularity and the idea of like, popularism is that it's like a wheel that turns, right? And it's always got a different face. That's just the way that it's always been, right? Right now, we have a clear face and identity globally about what the thing is. The biggest star in the world is a South African girl making piano-inspired music, all right?
Pop music, yeah.
Absolutely. That's pop music right now, all right? Afrobeat, piano, this is pop music, okay? Does that give you does it give you a higher chance of potentially this idea of like superstardom? Yes, it does, right? That's quite an obvious thing. And everyone is doing that, right? Even Americans are doing that. And I'm saying like Joey Badass is on a piano song and Wiz Khalifa's on a piano song, and it's like, okay, that's how popular that is, right?
Yeah.
So I sit and I look at that and I go, okay, if you sign an artist that now I believe in the integrity part, right? I think that piano is a culture more than it is just a sound, right? Because I'm a South African, okay? And I think that even if you are a South African, not every South African can make piano in the way that it's believable, right? Yeah. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, right? And I'm saying, because to me, when I observe it in the way where I go, this is a cultural movement, right? And it's powerful, bro. It's so powerful that it's become globally popular. This thing is crazy powerful. And it's something that like we should be extremely proud of as South Africans, that we've been able to penetrate these markets like the US, like the UK, like with this specific movement. But does that mean that every South African artist is cut from the cloth that can make piano with integrity, right? I don't believe that, right? Or at least that's what I feel, okay? But does South Africa have talent on the level that can compete globally in other genres. I believe that. Okay? And if I believe that and I'm given a chance to do something with my life, and I have a like-minded business partner and investors that back the idea of shining a light on the South African talent, Marcus Harvey, Lord Cares, Mars Babies, Priddy Ugly, Zulu Makers, let's name them, right? Start to shine a light on the other talent that South Africa possesses outside of what is popular, and use the vehicle of the eyes that are on South Africa to potentially say, but hey guys, listen to this. Look at this guy. This guy does this thing. You know, I think that those guys are as good as anybody else in the world, right? And it's like, does South Africa, as diverse as it is, because we could collectively agree that not everybody can make piano successfully, believably. What about that massive amount of people in South Africa or artists that represent the other side or the other parts of South African entertainment and talent, right? We also believe that they can be part of a global entertainment ecosystem. So giving that opportunity and being a brand that will shine a light on that, I think is the way that Stay Low is positioned at the moment, right? And the way that we want to build that positioning. To go like, yo man, in the midst of this specific popular craze, come and have a look at what these guys are doing from the same country, right? Because they can be part of that same global ecosystem, you know? So that's sort of like, yeah, I would say that's the position that we hold, right? And it's not to say that we are against it. No, not at all, bro. Like if we have an artist that with integrity can pursue that direction, absolutely, that would make sense, you know? So it's like, it's like, that's why I'm saying we're not in the business of making superstars. We just have to have artistic integrity in our approaches. So when the integrity is there, maybe the question would be a bit different if we were doing the rollout for another big piano star. Maybe your question would be slightly different and go, how are you guys making a superstar? Because that would be, but we would do that if it had integrity. We couldn't do it without the integrity. So that's just where we're at right now, right? We're positioned in a place where it's like, we're not anti that, but we definitely are pro shining a light on the talent that exists outside of that popular realm. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Got a fair answer, great answer. I just want to circle back to people who can make superstars. Yeah, for sure. I get you saying that if somebody's saying that, they're lying. Yeah. But I think in this day, what people have mastered to do is give you a moment. Yeah. That we've got in the formula and the neck of it, like we know how to do that.
Sure.
Which is easy. Like it's not easy.
But
it's possible. We can generate moments for you, and then if you look at like a lot of piano featured artists, a lot of them enjoy the moment, but not so much the longevity. At least not in our eyes. That's
a very good point, because like actually we spoke about it the other day. We were like, actually, I've seen a lot. I don't even 2.0, 4.0. The names all have like the guys, the artists all have the 2s and the 4s and the this and the names, and I see them as features or I see them as acts, and then sometimes where they're like on like major award shows or like they got major songs like that, but like nothing happens afterwards, right? And it's like, but now that's the thing, right? So it's like, what are we doing? Do we want moments, or do you want to build some brands and some longevity, you know? But I think there's value. But I think that there's value in what you're saying, though, because probably there's an application there that you can add to an approach that could definitely add like maybe what we would call more motion to something. You know, there is value in it. Yeah.
Just before they come for us, I said not in our eyes. Not to say they're not doing anything, not in our eyes.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
We don't see it.
You don't see it. Yeah. Of course, man.
Maybe somebody from behind the scenes coming to the fourth and then returning back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Could be that. Yeah.
Yeah, but Tira says and you got a hit.
Yeah.
That's the other formula. That's the other formula.
Listen to Mars Baby's album. Yeah, just listen to Mars Baby's album.
When Mars Baby's album comes out, trust me, that's amazing stuff, bro. Yeah.
That was fire. Yeah. Now, when you spoke on you spoke on integrity, and you spoke on like, you know, when you, in terms of like building careers, right?
Yeah.
And we spoke on development and in the different phases of it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got Mars Baby, and that's like in our eyes, that's like super 100% development, you know, because our introduction to Mars Baby is through Stay Low, you know, Lord Kiss as well. And then you've got the other entities where you spoke about taking a Priddy Ugly from where he was 2012, between that span of 2012 to 2018 or 2020 rather, and where he is now, which is, you know, yes, it's definitely been an exponential growth, you know, even from like when you're looking at, we in the streaming era and all of those numbers, they've grown, you know, and it's like when you speak of integrity and artist integrity and the debates that I'm sure you would have in terms of when you're creating these projects, you know, how has that been like? Because I remember when Dust came out, I know you had like a congratulatory post about it, you know, and you said there were some times when the guys aren't seeing eye to eye on certain things, you know what I mean? And what has that been like? Because that also comes off of the bat of another disgruntled Stay Low affiliate at the time. I'm not sure what the business is like now. At the last conversation that we had, you know, you had mentioned that Zoo was not on Stay Low management, but rather on Stay Low label. You know what I mean? So in terms of wrestling with that, what are the learnings from the Zoo interaction, and what is the learnings from the Dust, I guess, creative differences that you might have had that you were alluding to in that post?
Yeah, for sure, bro. I think let's chat about Dust quick before we get into a sort of a different topic. But yeah, man, you're right. I think let me walk you through a little bit of that experience, right? First of all, like Priddy Ugly is one of the guys that I have like a very strong I have a very strong like vision for, you know, Priddy, like I was very passionate about working with Priddy Ugly, like, and it was shared. Fred and I both felt equally like that, right? Really believe in that guy, man. I really believed in him, even when all that shit was happening about this guy can't rap and this guy this and that on Twitter. Did you actually like that should usually offend me, bro. Like that way I would feel, you know? So starting
prior to him being with Stay Low.
Yeah, prior to him.
That's what
I think Fred is the one that even put me on to Priddy Ugly like
bro.
that, actually.
For sure. So from Goat mixtape.
Yeah. For me, it was even like 2010. Like Fred was like
early.
You don't know me yet. Yeah.
Fred was very early on Priddy in terms of like.
Fred was super early on Priddy. I was on Priddy like because once again, bro, didn't know much about any of the industry stuff. Got into Priddy when I first met Shane. Got into Priddy, started understanding. Oh, okay, I see this. Oh, and even from early then, started really like we got on and we started really having an idea. So when I started working with Priddy, I would say that our very first interaction on an official level, there was challenges. What I think people must really understand, bro, is that you can have good relationships with guys and you guys can do work together that is impactful. That doesn't come without friction, bro. Have you can't hear a story of achieving anything great without friction, right? I have a big personality. I'm not the easiest dude, bro, like in life. You know how many times me and Fred argue, bro?
It's surprisingly a very big personality. You know, I never would have thunk it, but when you interact with Vaughn, it's like, oh snap, this.
Oh really? Do I seem like a meek little
not meek, but just like,
but like not
chill,
as
you know what I mean?
like chill, like laid back? But then I'm actually like full of shit.
No, it's just like, yo, this nigga go. Really?
It surprises me when he goes. It just happens like that. Like,
oh, really?
You going.
That's hilarious. Like,
passionate. Very overtly passionate. I never expect that passion to be expressed the way that you actually express it.
Oh, okay. Well, you see, right? So that type of stuff can be combative, right? It can end up in a combative situation. I mean, Fred and I get along. We probably have one of the healthiest relationships in each other's respective lives, right? Over the last couple of years, because we can actually just go at it, bro, and not agree, like for real. And then actually, I could come around and agree with him, or we'll just agree to disagree and do something anyway. That's why we've achieved things, right? So I think very first to start with with Priddy, whereas like when I started working with Priddy, the very first thing that happened, Priddy had been recording songs during lockdown. Like it was like, because we only really officially like signed I would say like a record label agreement with Priddy in early 2021. We had management first when we started in 2020, June 2020. When I started sitting and thinking about like how we want to release music and what we want to do, I remember going to Fred and saying, bro, I actually think we need to get Priddy on a label agreement, because I think that you can only do so much on management in terms of direction. But when the product changes, the management changes, the positioning changes, but it all comes down to what's permanently going to be available to represent this man.
Yeah.
I want to have more of a say in the direction there.
Yeah.
Right? And at the time, Priddy had obviously he had experienced a level of success and a level of stardom that he had achieved independently, and then through the Ambitious period and some of the projects he's put out. You Don't Know Me Yet was like a great mixtape, still South Africans still call it a classic mixtape that he had dropped. There's like a lot of that traction that he had, like that Weechie era where it was like Priddy Ugly and Weechie, and then he went into Ambitious, and then Ambitious was explored a little few different sounds. They were like, I mean, I think he's one of the guys that says he can make a superstar, right? He might be right though. I don't know, bro. He seemed like he did a couple of things. I don't know that dude.
He's got a nice strike rate.
I don't know that
his strike rate is nice.
I don't know. He did his thing. I don't know, bro. I never. Yeah. MT. Goddamn.
I mean, we'll throw A-Reese in there as an honorary.
Oh yeah, Black Diamond. Yeah. So there we go. But
his strike rate is nice.
But
Yeah. If not a star, I think they know how to break artists.
yeah, they definitely had something like something was cooking at that time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what is it now? Is there something happening there now? Let's not worry about it though. Yeah. So, but.
So is no, that's the longevity check. That's the longevity check.
It's fine. You see where I was going.
No way to cheat
some longevity.
No,
I mean, let me
absolutely.
think about it.
The
Reese,
brands are there.
Reese is from that area as
but
well.
credit,
You know what I mean?
but credit to Reese though.
Yeah.
Credit to Reese. 100%.
No, he's talking about like as a
He
business.
never
Yes,
stopped.
yes.
Breakers, but breaking the artist, like
Yes.
definitely, you know.
As a business,
As a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, I agree. But I
Breaking
don't.
definitely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Shout out to bro.
And
There's
you're
no way
right,
to
yo,
cheat it.
Reese did really do his thing.
Yeah,
man.
shout out to
And
Reese, though.
He's doing his thing.
Absolutely,
still
man.
doing his thing, yeah.
Absolutely, bro. Like that's a whole nother dude, right? So
Yeah.
so Priddy obviously he had that period. Okay, so he went through that, and that was another experience that I'm sure he's speaks about or he's spoken about, but that was an experience that seen its time, and he went back into like his indie movement, and then he did just before lockdown he did like 2 EPs. Goat was still one of my favorite EPs that Priddy put
Fire.
out.
So
In
good.
fact, it was like one of the EPs that I sat with, and I said to Fred,
Yeah, that
you
was
see
the one.
you see these 2 joints, bro. You see what he's doing here? Like, dog, trust me, bro. There's something we can do here with this guy. Like, this guy is misrepresented. He's the man, bro. You know. And I remember like feeling that way about him. And then we had the discussions after we did a management deal. We launched Stay Low 2021. Now, the first thing that happened was Priddy was recording music. That guy records a lot of music. Priddy's a very productive dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's rapping his ass off like all the time, bro. It's like, yo, like that was another learning that I'll get to about like working with him that I had to like, I learned, right? It was like 2021. So to the very first thing is Priddy had like 60 odd songs done. 60, dog. Big features there, some things. I remember he played me like majority of them. In fact, like he sent them through to us. Now imagine the very first thing that happens is that this guy, like you, and I'm me, and I say, nah, to all 60 songs.
All 60.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
So what happens there? No, but not because they're not good. Not at all.
Yeah.
Some of those joints were banging, bro. Like there's bangers, dog. Priddy makes bangers, dog. He's a fire artist.
Yeah.
He's a seriously fire artist.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. Some songs weren't my taste, but that's not always the point, right? Some songs were dope, but it wasn't the idea, right? There was an idea.
Oh.
There was an idea
So
that I
the
wanted to
consistency
execute.
of the idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the idea come to life because I believed it would work for him with a lot of conviction. And when I shared that with Fred supported the idea. That's when I just I go and in that moment, I'll be the villain.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, being the villain is for the greater good in what we believe. And we could be wrong, bro. We could have been wrong, right? So at that point, bro, if that's the first point, you must understand, like it's quite a difficult thing to get through that, right?
You start the relationship that way.
Hey man, what foot is that one? You know what I'm saying? So now that one, I understand a little bit of that, right? So, but 100% credit to Priddy. He was like, all right, what are you saying? And then I said, okay, bro, this is what I'm thinking, right? I really want you to lock in with Shooter. Because now, Shooter has been a guy that I started the very first ever thing I ever did in music. Shooter was there, right? Because I'd met Shooter through Shane in 2015. Shooter Coombs is one of South Africa's, to his own problems sometimes, like best kept secret, right? In the sense that Shooter's an actual musical genius, right? And he's got a lot to offer artists in studio, in real time, a lot, right? I knew this, and I also saw and witnessed what we did with Shane and how much of a critical role that dude played in that process. Like vital, bro, to the point where it's like, without him, that doesn't happen. No matter who I am, no matter who Shane is, right? And it was like, I wanted to inject something fresh into Priddy Ugly through the Stay Low vehicle, because not through the Stay Low vehicle, what did Fred say in the beginning, bro? We're representing ourselves through this thing. We're also representing who we are through this thing. And this is where the personality part, you start to get into friction a bit, because like, who are you? Who are we? What are we doing? Who am I? There's a bit of things that happen, and it's like, you know, that can start happening, right? So credit to Priddy, bro. Priddy was like, and Priddy is a consummate professional. That dude, bro, he just gets it, dog. He goes, okay, and a bit of it was like, okay, also let's see. You know? So the process of Soil started like that, and we made Soil. Did we all sit collectively afterwards through a somewhat challenging process? Happy with the product, proud of the product, absolutely. Did the product work in repositioning as the very first step with Stay Low, Priddy Ugly? I mean, you guys can answer that, right? And it's like, that wasn't by chance. There was back and forths, bro. There was process. I think then you move on down that journey and you get mud. Now, during the process of Soil, it had its difficulties. We had our processes. We both, bro, we must also understand that, like, as we do things together, we grow and we mature differently, right? So I matured through that process in some ways. I was upset in some ways. He was upset in some ways. We were collectively upset, but we still maintained a working and positive relationship, because that's what work is.
I want to add something there just for some context, right? It's like, so, and this is something that I think we also didn't really think about until we found ourselves in that situation, is that, you know, one might think that like breaking an artist is like a lot more difficult than repositioning an artist that's had a 15-year career, right? And they're challenging in their unique ways, right? But I think that because in our you know, individual and respective experiences, we'd had, you know, we'd been in situations before where by the time that we got together and we were doing this thing, we understood like what needed to be done as a base, like when you're breaking an artist. It's, at least in terms of like positioning, right? But the thing is, when someone has done something and they've been a staple and they've existed in a certain way, people have consumed them. Most people have made up their minds about who they are musically and their person. There's actually a resistance, a force of resistance against this, and that is its own beast.
That was a different experience.
And also, Priddy's a grown ass man. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like that plays a factor in it as well, right? You're not
also
dealing
stuck
with,
in his ways.
Absolutely.
You're not 21-year-old newcomer.
You develop habits. There's a way you like to record. There's a way that it's like, you know, I always think about that thing. MK says this a lot. He says, study long, study wrong, right? You ever heard that?
Yeah, that's
like,
from Snoop.
Juice,
that's how it starts.
Exactly. And that's not to take anything away from Priddy, but I'm saying all of us do it in our lives. It's like you become accustomed to like certain things. So there's an actual force of resistance in the opposite direction when you're that you're working against some things that are something that he's created, but some things that are like bigger than him, right? It's like we kind of all know these were things that, by the way, we spoke about openly with Priddy Ugly, right? And from a strategic perspective and now from a positioning perspective, that is like you're getting into like another zone, like mentally when you have to do that, right? It's and so that was like something that I think that we'd never been in that position before, right? So when we were tackling this, it's like you don't have a clean clean canvas, right? It's not like a Lord Cares or where people are like, okay, cool, like show us.
Yeah.
They're in a position where people might be more receptive to it, but it's like this dude, he wasn't a nobody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like he wasn't even just as a personality.
Yes.
He existed. I would argue that he was bigger as a personality than his music was. Do you know what I mean? Like at the time. And so
I can see there was a time where you knew Priddy Ugly without knowing his music.
Exactly.
Priddy used to tell us that all the time. He'd be like, bro, people know me through Hamaloi.
Yeah.
People know me through Africa.
Yeah.
People know me. And he would actually sit us and be like, hey, dog. My daughter put me on to some people. And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
So that was all an interesting experience, right?
Yeah.
But that's also why I think Fred and I were quite stern in the way we said, hey bro, this is how we want to position you. And this is where the credit, the 100% credit goes to Priddy.
100%.
He went with us, bro.
Yeah.
He bought into that. Not only did he buy into it, even if it was initially like a bit of reluctancy, a bit of like, I don't really see it, but let's see, I trust the gents. Like he executed on one of the highest levels there, right? Soil is a flawless repositioning for what it did, right? And we adapted in some ways because Priddy has like a way that he does things and a way that he wants to boom, boom. So we also learned through that. So that process, like Fred's saying, it had its ups and its downs there, right? We ended that process and we got into the mud process. Now the mud process also happened in and around like the fight and the Casper stuff that was happening and all of that. So that process itself posed different types of challenges. But what we did do there was we also allowed that one to develop a little bit more organically off the back of like how Priddy used to do things after the soil process, the learnings from that and how we went about it. So like I think when I say that, I'm saying as a principal producer, Shooter was like on one song there, right? He did 30 Minutes to Soweto, which is like actually one of my favorite Priddy songs. Like I love that joint. Priddy killed that shit. But anyway, so then it was like the guys, man. Herc made some great songs and then Herc did Win, which is like one of the big songs. And then it was like we had a KK did some beats. It was like a little bit more EP, let's put out mud and let's feel it out. The process, the time of 2022 was quite strenuous on me personally in life. I think Fred, it was just very difficult personal time. And for Stay Low, bro, it was like in the height of a lot of like dramatic events that were taking place. Okay, so I even personally will say that I didn't have a lot of my hand on the making of Mud. Priddy really pioneered it and came out really good. Well, it was a dope EP. That EP could be gold or platinum now. I have to just check with Risa. I'm busy with that process, but it's done well, right? Yep. Off the back of that, there was the Casper fight and Priddy spoken about that on podcasts, just about how he was feeling after that and that whole process and what that was like. All of us were in a bit of a weirder space then. It was kind of strange, bro. It was like one of those things we're like, oh, okay, like you don't really think about that in life, but we take the opportunities as they come and we do what we all collectively agree on at the time, and we live and learn. And then we kind of like Priddy took a bit of a break there, found his feet in some ways, and then he got into the process of making dust. Now that's to the context I'm giving is to get to the dust part, right? Bro, now as much as this is what I learned about Priddy. When Priddy started making dust, Fred and I had an idea for it. We were like, okay, you know what would be amazing, bro? If we did an album with Shooter Coombs and Mash Beats as like the lead. Because we had used Pusha T's like Kanye, Pharrell. Almost dry.
Yeah.
Because
I was like deep in that.
Because this dude came to me one day and he was like, dog, I think I got like the Priddy thing. Because we were thinking about it like this, right? And this is the kind of people and then sort of professionals in the industry Fred and I are. Sometimes it depends on the artist, but we start with the idea and then we work backwards. Like, what do we want people to feel with the third installment of this trilogy that we're rolling out with Priddy Ugly? What do we want to achieve? Let's start what the success looks like. And what we said was we want to win the summer. That's what we said in top of 2023. We said, we want to win the summer, right? Told Priddy that. We had a meeting with him and said, bro, we're coming for everything with that album. That's what we want to achieve. And then we said, how do you cut through noise and we start having those discussions where we start to try and put on that hat of like, okay, how do you, and then we come up with concept. And concept, we were inspired by the Pusha one because it's like Pusha is one of the best rappers out, right? Yeah. He's like consistent. He's that guy. He's got the persona. And then I liked how they did it with it was Pharrell and Kanye, right?
Yeah.
With the 6'6",
Yeah.
where it was like, and then it ended up having like a secondary marketing vehicle, right? Which like moved the
crazy
the needle around, like
just the history with like the history of Pusha T being anchored by two of the greatest producers of all time.
And then
right, it was like I was like, man, and remember when that dropped, it was like, you know, he was doing his like media thing and he was telling people, but then on the day of release, what Apple Music did is that they did a version that was rearranged with the Kanye 6 songs at the top and the Pharrell 6 songs at the top,
and
right?
like,
and then this was the thing. It was like that we didn't have to, this wasn't something that was contrived, right? It was like we were inspired by an idea. But if you think about Priddy Ugly, he just come off winning Lyricist of the Year at the SA Hip Hop Awards, right? Yeah. So one of the things that we really took pride in was that like we managed to kind of help reposition this guy as the lyricist that we always saw him at, right? So people were talking less about his marriage or his daughter or whatever. And the thing was like, man, when Priddy Ugly gets on a song, you guys better, you know what I mean? You better come correct, right? So we'd already kind of done the first step of that, right? And then we went, Shooter did Priddy's first album. He's a Sama Award-winning producer. Mash Beats had just become a Sama Award-winning producer.
Like done the A-Reese stuff,
and he did the A-Reese,
which is like the Shane, and then the which I'm saying from the producer perspective, they've they have credibility in the hip hop space.
Exactly.
From that perspective. So when we looked at it like that, we're like, oh, it's kind of just like, lining up for like an idea like that, right? And that creates what that creates outside of the music is just the ability to have like a secondary vehicle that drives it, and then the talkability, and then we want the competitive thing. Yo, actually, Priddy's better with the Mash stuff, and Priddy's better with the Shooter stuff, and that was like how we were thinking about it, right? Yeah. In reality, how that started materializing was it did happen. Mash and Shooter and Priddy were locked in, bro. They were cooking, and I think as that process went along, Priddy also started getting a few new ideas or different ideas to what the initial thought was, right? Yeah. And that also proved points of, I would say, slight friction around like how we're going to get it done. Because Fred and I are so committed to ideas, we weren't in the process. So Priddy would come to us and then say, yo man, I actually want this song from Herc on there, and then and I love that song from Herc. We both played that joint like, yo, the song is crazy fire. But we're in a position where we could go take a fire song and not put it on the album because of the idea. Yeah. That's the way we come from. But that doesn't always necessarily mean it's the right choice, right? Which proved to be right in dust. Because Priddy was right about those songs. Like Falling, like, that's the intro, right? Yeah. Crazy intro, dog. No Plans. Herc also jumped on some co-production on some songs that are like dope songs. He jumped on some with Shooter, jumped on some with Mash. So Herc's presence on the album, as per Priddy's like, sort of confrontation with us or request with us, proved to be correct, dog. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. What we had to do then, and I think this is where some contention happened on the creative side, was like we then had to rethink the idea of that secondary marketing vehicle, because now it's not the 6-6 split, right? Yeah. And then that's where the discussion came in. We're like, okay, this is the final Priddy Ugly album of this trilogy, right? Yeah. At that and Priddy will sort of decide about how he takes that forward in terms of his career and so forth. I mean, he's still jumping on songs and features and stuff. We all sort of part of that process, right? But from this era, that was like the project that we said, okay, well, we're gonna call it that one, and that provided another strategic vehicle to carry this album and receive it in the way that you should receive it, right? Yeah. And then my learnings during that process was like, I have to stop listening to Priddy Ugly songs when they're still very light demos.
Okay.
Because I would receive like 12 songs from Shooter and then listen to them and be like, me, I don't know, bro. I don't know about this one. And I said to Fred, but it's just me, or like, and it's like when I started, and then I would have some thoughts, and I have a whole notebook of like, I sit and I listen and I make some notes and some thoughts and I sketch some stuff down. I'll send Priddy some stuff. Like in the past, we've rearranged songs in ways, we collaborate like that. But with Dust, I was like kind of doing that. There was some stuff I wasn't getting, some stuff I wasn't sure of. Me and him would have a sit down, and I would have a clash and be like, nah, dog, I don't think this is the one. And he'd be like, what do you mean, bro? This is the best thing. And then that process would happen like it always happens with artists, like in general, who we work with. And then the truth is, like, when I finally got like what Shooter would say to me like, and Shooter Mash and Herc would send the songs, say like, yo guys, this is where we at. Herc would had done the mix. I listened. It was like 15, 16 songs then. And then I remember messaging Priddy and saying, yo bro, I feel you. Like I understand more of what you're doing here because what I learned during that process was also how to also consume this version of Priddy Ugly that has gone through that repositioning and where he where he's pulling inspiration from. Like, I don't always understand that, bro. Like, I'm like fucking Moses, bro. Like, I'm also like learning as I go along. So that process was interesting to me because a couple of those joints there, and even today when we look at the album, I'm like, oh, those are quite critical to this experience, right?
Yeah.
So, and then once again, like, that's where that stuff comes from. But once with Priddy, and it's like sometimes we can have tension and it can last a little longer than we want it to last because we're men and we also, life goes on and we also have, like, we have egos, bro.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have an ego, to some degree, you got to keep a healthy ego, right? But sometimes our egos do like take over and we can get offended by each other. We can say things out of place. Personally, I'm in a weird place. I say something to him. He's in a weird place, say something to him. I'm like, yo, man. It's like that can happen. Yeah. But we've sat with Priddy like recently and we've just all collectively got on the same page with things because, bro, like at the end of the day, we've done great work together and great work doesn't happen without the friction, right?
Yeah.
And it's that this is proof of it. From my side too, from Fred's side too, it's like what we learned from that process is that, okay, if we had to do something like this again, we would handle a lot of things differently.
And I think, I mean, Priddy would kind of echo like a similar thing. I mean, I won't speak for him, but I just think about like that process. It's like, it's deeper than music. Yeah. Right. It's like when we're rolling something out, we started this discussion by talking about like how seriously we take rollouts. It's a massive undertaking. Yeah. So when you're rolling out an album, it's not as simple as just going out and banging 15 songs out and then hiring someone to shoot music videos. Right. Yeah. It's like when we started with Soil, for instance, it's like we got kind of past the foundational phases, and then we just spent a whole lot of time with Priddy Ugly, like in the beginning. It wasn't always about music, right? But we were having conversations just like as men, people, as people, and he was talking about how he was like, Priddy's like half Angolan, he's half South African, right? And speaking about how like he's really had to like confront that in being a dad, right? And like how he's gonna move and the things that he wants to pass on to his kin and all these things, right? And it's like how all of that, the strategy that we came up with for him for Soil was informed by all of those things, right? It's like one of the anchoring things I think that even people still mention to this day. I mean, lots of people ask us about like, if it's like green screen or not or whatever, but that Soil music video, I think was like the thing that like, after 10 years, after 15 years, and all the stuff that he'd done, the way that impacted everybody was like different. It was just on another level. A new era of Priddy Ugly is here.
My favorite Priddy song.
You know what I mean? One of my favorite Priddy songs too. But it was like, he's got his hair braided, like he's getting his hair braided in like all these different cities. And we had this conversation because we were like, yo, to him, it's important right now that he is bold and vocal about his like Africanness, right? Especially because we're participating in a global culture from the corner of South Africa, right? But we're no worse. We're on the same level, better than some of the guys who are doing it over there, right? And so
we're saying to him like, yo, imagine we do a joint where it's like you from New York, but you want to live in Jersey.
Exactly. So we flipped that out. I remember how crazy that session was, right? But it was like, and then how we interpreted that visually was just like, it's like, we're not going to Wakanda this. You know what I mean? We're not going to have this homie in a, Kumbaya. It's like that's not the one. But it was like the conversation is so deep. Like we dug up references and like I was reading history books and, about how like, back during slave days, the hair was like a big thing because slaves would use braids to map out roads, escape roads, right? It was like that's how deep we went into that. This wasn't like a flimsy idea that we came up with, and we did this and we arrived at that point. I say all of that to say that by the time we got to Dust, which was the punctuation of the trilogy, right? It was the same kind of thing that was applied. And so when we'd come up with this idea and we'd had Priddy's buy-in and we were like, this is going to be the foundation of this thing, it definitely stirred things up when, and here's another learning from us is like, yo, music is a spirit, you know what I mean? It's a spirit and a force of its own, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we give artists like the space to explore that, because sometimes not all music is for releasing. Do you know what I mean? It's like you go into the studio. It's like exercising. It's like exercise. You're exercising a muscle in your brain. You're exercising your ingenuity, your creativity, all of those things, right? But it was like the commitment to the idea is the foundation of everything that we do.
Always
right?
where we come from.
Yeah, and so even from my perspective, it's like, getting really excited, and then doing all of this stuff and going, okay, we're going into album mode, right? It's like, and then when you're rolling out an album, but also when you're like running a business in general, there's like, there's also there's forecasts and they're very like tangible, real, pragmatic things that go into this, right? It's like, and so when Priddy came back and it was like, not by any, it wasn't him being, intentionally problematic. What he was an artist who's in studio, who's figuring out what his language is going to be for this album. And he came back and that wasn't the case anymore. You can understand that we were like, man, this is, this kind of throws us off a little bit. This throws a spanner into the works. And so I think in the midst of that, it's like, we always talk about this. It's like, we want to be an example that conflict can exist at the same time as greatness. It's like, it's like they're not, it's not one or the other. It's actually almost always that way, because we where we can find like a common ground is like, you only ever argue with people when you care about what you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we
I don't argue with no one I don't care about.
We always have to check ourselves. It's like, yo, if Vaughn and I argue all the time, right? Because it's because we really care about what we're doing, and I then step back and go, yo, we might have had a heated argument, but like, I know that where he's coming from is he wants this product to be the best that it can be, and I want this to be the best that it can be, right? And it's like, that's pretty much what it came down to with Priddy Ugly. Now, it took a while, right? Because like, as Vaughn said, man, egos, time, and I think that by the time we released the album, one of the things that we'd said, we were and are extremely proud of everything that we've achieved with Priddy Ugly, together with Priddy Ugly, right? But it was like, there was a period there for sure where we were like, we just need to, kind of clear the air, like just as a personal thing, like we need to clear the air because we want to be able to fully enjoy and live in the success of this thing without the weirdness.
I would say just to sort of put a punctuation on that too. Like I mean personally, also I take some responsibility in the and I say this to Priddy too. Where it took me a little longer to get to the place where like, cause like talk about early on in Soil, when I sort of said no to what 60 odd songs, Priddy kind of got through that easier than I got through some of the thoughts he was having on Dust. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, bro. To be honest, it took me a little longer because I was like, but that wasn't the idea. But then I thought to myself, but shit, man, he had an idea like 4 years ago too. Like, so yeah, man. I mean, I take that one. But it's part of the process, bro. I learned that because when I sat down, because I track listed Dust, right? So when I was sequencing it, I remember listening to it and being entrenched into his idea and his thoughts. And sort of like some of the direction that we had implemented, and I was like, okay. And I remember hitting him up saying, "Yo, bro, I see where you're at." And it's like that process is one that will always happen, and it's going to happen again. Yeah, we're going to go through it again. It's just how it goes, bro. It's just and it's important for like people in the industry to know that that's the process. This is like all sunshine and rainbows, dog. And then you just like win the summer. Like it's like a jolly good. It's like, nah, bro, it's quite hard if you're serious. If you're trying to take it, if you're trying to do something that people haven't done, like in ways they haven't done, that's going to come with some serious friction, And hopefully by the time this comes out, Priddy Ugly's won that summer. then like what we were saying. Yeah, you feel
He's still the best lyricist, man. Like win or not,
hands
it's
down.
like
Hands
that's
down, bro.
He's that
Nominated,
dude.
bro.
He's that dude.
Yeah. And I just want to ask, to somebody who's watching, who might maybe mistake just what you guys have just said now as people who have a label with ideas and find funnels to execute those things. What would you say to somebody who took that, everything you guys have been saying now, like that? Like, okay, cool, Stay Low, you find an artist, and then, okay, cool, oh, you're a rapper. Okay, I'm gonna make you do this, like this, like this, like this. You know, how do you explain that?
So how do you explain the process of finding talent and then putting them through the process of an idea you have?
To someone, what we just went through now, it might sound like, okay, cool, these guys want artists, but they have their own ideas.
Yes,
and,
okay.
And a big part of what artists care about is like, I didn't have creative freedom.
Yeah.
I didn't have,
Right.
So I think
a good
that
question.
yeah, that's a very good question because that's also just not the case with us. What I think we're good at is meeting the artists where they are and then helping them make sense of where they want to be. Because I think if you had to ask Marcus Harvey about the process that we went through with his album, there's actually quite a massive amount of creative freedom that we actually allow, because I don't think that the development happens without that, right? Every single artist has what we do is we try to collectively come up with a direction. That direction is a very broad bucket where we can start throwing in all the creative executions. A lot of the stuff that we ends up as the final product, right? In the case of Dust, even in the case of Soil. I mean, even on Soil, there were some songs, Handful of Dust. That's a straight Priddy Ugly at the crib, Weechie and Herc. Boom, I heard that shit. I was like, yo, bro, definitely. Like, that's, do you see what I'm trying to say? There's a part of it that I think the respect from an executive perspective for creative freedom is vital, and it must be provided, because that's the water that grows the artist. And I think then the respect for direction and conciseness from the artist side to the skill set that exists with the executives is important. So I think like it's about that balance, right? Yeah. It's like you got to find a way to communicate that with each other with as little friction as possible. It won't be absent of it. Yeah. But it's definitely not a like, you like must do this. Because if that was the case, Dust wouldn't sound like this or wouldn't be like that, right? All of our albums actually wouldn't be like that because they're very much collaborative.
Yeah, it's definitely a point of contention for a lot of artists when signing with a label in any capacity. You know, I will say that like Vaughn said, it does go both ways, right? Because I'm saying, what is the development part of artist development if you're not challenging the artist to dig into like the things that are the most, or that we collectively decide are the strongest parts of their artistry. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like there is no development if you're not being challenged to be better. And then also with everything that we do, and I strongly believe that this is the way that it should be. Of course, artistry is the foundation of it, right? Yeah. But it's not all of it. Yeah. We operate in the material world, right? Yeah. And so with us, it's like we want to think it through until the end. Obviously, there's a part that you leave that you leave for people to respond, and you know what I mean. It's a two-way street. But what I'm saying is like there are things that Marcus Harvey is like phenomenal at, right? Yeah. It's like I can't even wrap my head around how one person has that much talent, right? Yeah. But there are also things that I'm good at that Marcus Harvey doesn't really have the same command for, and there's things that Vaughn's good at that Kez doesn't really have the same command for. It's like, you know, when you're coaching, right? It's like the coach doesn't necessarily have the same skill sets as the dude on the right. But being able, it is beneficial to be able to have someone on your side who can take a step back and look at you as a product and as an offering with some relative objectivity. So that we can
also
reach
with
our
the context.
With context, right?
Exactly. Yourself as a creative is hard.
It's really hard, bro. It's like you almost. I'm saying you want the creators to do what they do best. Yes. And we're creative in our own ways as well, right? But it's like everyone. It's like we speak about this as Stay Entertainment all the time. It's like we want to get to a place in the business where everyone is doing the thing that they're really, really good at. It's like when you get to that point, it's like you guys are like out of here. And so, it's never been a dictating thing, right? But I think that the rapport that we've developed with the guys that we do work with is pretty good, right? It's like on the one side, it's like, and people never think about it like this. On the one side is like artists exploit labels, right? As well, right? Because if you're coming to a label for funding and you're going, yo, you just give me the money. Right, I'm gonna sit in my home studio. I'm gonna do whatever I want, right, and then I'm gonna release it. And I don't want any input from you. It's like that's an investment that someone's made. I need to be able to trust that my investment is good.
My job's on the line.
Yes, exactly, bro. If that album doesn't work out, we're in this together. Is the point, right? Is like we always think about it like the label exploiting the artist, right? And there's those extremes exist on both ways.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like, one, we specifically at Stay Low care about what we're doing. We care about the people that we work with, right? That's part of the conflict, or whatever you want to call it, is part of the process. But we've never been in a position where it's been like, you come in and we create a mold and we're like, yo, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And then like, that's how we're going to move. It's not a formula for success.
The superstar.
Yeah.
Also, your hardness and steer.
Yeah.
Harness and steer.
Yeah, harness and steer.
That's a good way
That's
to put
also
it.
the name of my book.
Harness and steer. No.
I'm messing with you.
But your second part of that question, that was we elaborated on the first part, but maybe
the
Zooci
part. Because like you have a Zooci now that's also that he was at a particular point in his career as well, and you had to go through that sort of repositioning, and I'm guessing that you took some learnings, I'm guessing, in terms of how you navigated that space and going forward with other people. I'm not sure if it was concurrent with what was happening with the Priddy time as well. No, it wasn't. No,
not exactly.
Not really, but
there's some overlap.
Maybe some overlapping.
Yeah.
And how was that like navigating that period? And like I said, I'm not sure if he's still on the label, because the last time we spoke about it, he was on the label, just not on the management side. And there was that friction between you guys. I think even after, actually, just to elaborate on that, even after the episode interview had aired, he had some words as well.
Some comments
he had put up a post and even said, you know what I mean? I mean, we're a platform, and I'm sure he's also gonna come in and he'll probably speak on it from his perspective and his side.
Sure. Come on the pod, Zoo.
Yeah, you probably will. Because I mean, I've seen Zoo a couple of times as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, like in terms of that sort of element, because also that was supposed to be like a joint venture, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was the idea, bro.
Yeah,
that was definitely the idea. So I mean, I think like obviously, I think it goes without saying that I've been fairly personally, and then collectively, we've been fairly quiet about any kind of public communication around this, because what we were hoping for is that it just gets resolved in the professional ways that it should be resolved
in the boardroom.
Yes, absolutely, bro. Where it started, right? So I think that. I think that that's what we were hoping for, man. Because, I mean, if you know anything about us, we're not people that do that, right? We're not guys that are gonna go online and bash anybody. I mean, we're gonna handle the business in the way that it should be handled, right? That's our position. So we've been fairly quiet, but I think that, like, unfortunately, we kind of probably owe some clarity to everybody that's invested in the idea that we were in business together with Zooci and Perf Audio. And to refresh the conversation, I'm going to maybe miss the years here, but it's 2022 for sure. Personal fallout with Zooci due to friction that comes with working. Yeah. Right? That's the best way to phrase that. Friction that comes with working in a certain way and trying to get things done in a certain way causes a personal fallout. Yeah. Upon that personal fallout, we immediately...
Just before you proceed, personal fallout just between you and him?
Yes, so me and Zooci had a personal fallout through the professional context. So it's not like, it's not something to do on a personal level. It's not like something to do with like girls or like, I don't know, bro, a physical fight or anything like that. Like we were working together, but there was no wrongdoing professionally. It was just a personal
It was a clash.
Yeah, oh,
a
okay.
personal clash on things.
Personality clashes.
Yes, on things we were doing,
Okay.
right? So, I mean, once again, right, there is small examples I could give, but I don't necessarily want to do that because I think what that just causes is like pettiness, and I'm really not trying to do any of that stuff, bro. It's pointless, right? But we had a clash on a personal level, personality clash, however you want to phrase that, through the vehicle of working together. Okay, that was in 2022. The result of that was that we collectively sat around a boardroom table. We aired it out like this. We had MD, Fred, everyone was sort of present. You might have been present. Yep. And yeah, at that point, I just said, you know what, we both said, we don't want to work together on this level. Okay. It's not going to work. So we, upon the mutual agreements, terminated management. And for anybody watching, management is a much more personal business relationship with an artist than it is a label agreement. A label agreement is very much, you still do need to have good rapport with the people you work with, especially on a boutique level when you're not a major, right? Majors don't have the capacity to deal with every artist personally. It's just impossible. There's thousands of artists, right? So it's different. But on a boutique level, like you would want to have, and we would want to have personal relationships with our artists that we work with, even on a label level. Okay, so we then, as a business, immediately decided, okay, you know what? Management, it's very personal. We can see that this one here, it's quite a fundamental personal clash. It's not going to work. So okay, cool. We terminated the management agreement almost within a week of that meeting. Zooci requested that his employment is terminated as the sub-label executive of Piff Audio Stay Low, right? Stay Low Piff. Because what we had done was the idea in the pursuit of building sustainable careers was having a look at the skill sets of each artist and then trying to decide where are directions we could take this. Zooci exhibits at face value the values of curating albums, producing albums, being somewhat of an executive role. That's how I actually see the longevity of his skill sets. So pitched to the business to create this idea of a sub-label called Stay Low Piff and absorb what was just a brand. It wasn't an operating business. A lot of artists these days, like they say they run independent labels, but like I don't think anybody understands what running an independent label actually means. Okay, like you can have a brand and an Instagram page, and a couple of things that people do that look like gang, right? But like the truth is, it's like, are you running a business though? Like, are you paying producers royalties? Are you receiving royalties and distributing them correctly? Are you paying your levies to RISA? Do you understand what paying digital levies are? Do you have a tax number? Are you VAT registered? How are you? I'm saying an actual business that you can evaluate is very different to having a brand that you operate through as a vehicle. There's nothing wrong with either one of them, but be clear on which one it is. So at that point, Piff was a brand that they were running their stuff through, right? Never like traded officially as a bank accounts and stuff like that. So it was quite easy to say, okay, part of the Zooci employment agreement as a sub-label executive, we would absorb the brand Piff that you would operate under, and then you could sign artists under that, right? As a sub-label executive, you would report to the label executive, which would collaborate on to then sign artists under your imprint or the sub-label. That was the idea. And we did do that. He signed Diamonds, right? And then through that, then we did that for a while. Then we released Anxiety Plus and we released In the Trap, and then shortly after that was, I think like February 2022, we released Anxiety Plus, and then probably like June, Fallout, right? Upon that Fallout, we canceled the management agreement. He requested that the sub-label agreement is terminated. We then terminated the sub-label agreement is terminated, yes, the employment. Upon his request, we acknowledged it, and then that was also terminated, all right? Because once you can't work with someone on a management level, you can imagine that you're not going to get along in an intricate business level where there's like reporting structures and so forth, right? So it made sense. Unfortunate, but made sense. We then...
So quick question. When you say terminate, you terminate his employment but still keep the sub-label, or do you terminate both?
So what we did was we terminated employment, and then we, through that negotiation, transferred the Piff Audio brand back to him.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't like hold. We could have, because it was an asset that was absorbed through the agreement.
Yeah.
But what's the point of that? It's like we don't have any value in holding that. Like.
Yeah.
So obviously, like Piff Audio is a brand that he operates with and he can operate with. So that fell away. The label agreement stays in place. Now, the reason the label agreement stays in place is not because Vaughn says so or Fred says so. It's because that's what business dictates. Because there is absolutely no way you can have a personal fallout and then all business requirements and all obligations that were agreed to at a time of good energy also just disappear on a feeling. It's impossible. There's assets. There are assets that are owed to the business. That business is one that I work for and represent. One that Fred works for and represents. That's the nature of that specific one that's been in contention and that's been spoken about and whatever happens, right? So in that sense, even when it came to that one, that specific agreement has got options of renewals, has got all these things. We sat down, we said, we are happy to not take any of the options. All that needs to be happen is the first obligations need to be met. The first obligations need to be met. Once that's done, we're fine. The active participation and release of the first obligations, once they are done, we can move on. It was strange because it was like sort of initially agreed. It was like, I wasn't in these meetings.
By both parties, you mean?
Yes, but our MD, Dale, was in the meetings with Zooci, and at that time, he had agreed. It was like a thing of like, okay, cool, that sounds fine. Left, and upon leaving a few days later, maybe dudes don't know how things work, right? It doesn't happen tomorrow. You also don't just send songs and then that's done. It's like, no, there's a way that this relationship needs to see itself out. Do you think every label, every artist in the world is best friends with their label?
Highly unlikely.
No. It's actually 90% of folks don't even talk to the guy at the label, right? Like it's a way for you to get your music out, to see out your obligations, and then you move on. Bro, I know guys, on the highest level that don't really, they're not best friends with anyone at the label. It's a business relationship, right?
You may not know the person that's
sometimes
assigned to working on your music at the label.
Yeah, bro. It's quite normal.
For real, yeah.
So now that's the place that stays. Okay, a couple of days later, there's a bit of a there was an expectation of how it should go. It doesn't go that way. A little bit more tension happens between, not even me. Now it happens between the higher powers and Zooci himself.
Yeah.
Cool, bro. So Dale and Zooci have a bit of a chat, and Dale is one of the busiest, most efficient guys in South Africa. He doesn't have hours of the day to spend going back and forth about things like this because there's a contract in place that is valid. That must just be adhered to. That's just simple business, right? Anyway, so we go through a legal process. Now, bear in mind, guys, like me personally, I don't know about Fred, but me personally, I haven't spoken to Zooci in 2.5 years. Not a word. Not even said nothing. Probably seen him once at a meeting with like the third set of lawyers he brought around, but I didn't speak to him. Okay? I just had to be present for the legal reasons. Okay? So that happens. Anyway, long story short, Zooci actually employs like lawyers to go through the contracts. Bro, when I'm telling you now in the last 2.5 years or so, it's like been 3 sets of different lawyers. And all that happens is we get asked for documentation and information and proof and whatever it is that they're saying, this is the reason we're reaching out. This is the position of Sibabalwe and his team. This is the position of what is our response. And every time our lawyers send back the information, bro, we just send the stuff. And there's nothing found wrong. There is no information that has come back. There's no findings. Every single time a different lawyer gets involved, it just stops because there isn't a case legally, because there's been nothing legally wrong.
There's no breach.
There's no breach. There's no nothing, right? So because of that, there's a frustration that builds because maybe you can't get his way or what he wants to do. But that's not how life works, bro. It's like if there was a legal issue, that would have been discovered through the 3 sets of lawyers we've dealt with. Right? So in that process has gone on for quite a while, right? You can imagine, bro, you know how long this stuff takes. Like, send a letter, you send a letter back, you wait, and send a letter back and forth, and it just doesn't materialize quickly. So that takes its own time. During that time, agreements stay in place. So if the agreements are not being adhered to, things just stop while that happens, right? So that's kind of what the majority of this time has been. Recently, we got to a point where like a third party got involved again, came and spoke to us. We once again went through the process. The third party was under a different impression. The facts speak to a different thing. They received the facts. They looked at it. Okay, hold on. Maybe there's a way we can get through this. But we got right to the point where, again, we reignited the idea and said, listen, if we do this, we're happy to go our separate ways afterwards. Done. No problem, right? At that, you wanna say?
Yeah, just before we proceed too far, because I don't know if you had liberty to say exactly what was required for you guys to separate. Was it just like, give us an album and then dip?
Yeah, there's
in layman's terms, just to put it bluntly.
Yes. To put it bluntly, it would be like, it depends on how you package it. The way we do things as a label is we don't say it must be an album, it must be an EP. There's a certain amount of songs that we then collaborate on to say. But to answer your question in layman's terms, I would say it would probably be an album and an EP. It could be one album and a deluxe. It could be anything like that, right? It just depends on how we decided to package it collectively. Okay, so when
Yeah, and so I just want to get a couple of things clear before we proceed further.
Sure.
And in the songs that he sent to you, which was what, 2-3 days later, after that agreement?
No, he didn't. He didn't send the songs.
Oh,
he didn't send the songs.
Are not sent.
Yeah, he didn't send the songs. I think what he was at that point. I think what he was thinking was like, I think at that I don't want to like speak incorrectly, but I think he was looking to release something outside of Stay Low. Okay. Because it was something that the fans wanted or whatever the case is. And then I think the correction was like, no, bro, if you release anything, it has to go through Stay Low. That's what the agreement says. And I think that there was like a fallout or a misunderstanding of how that works, you see. Yeah. And then that progressed into more frustration. And then what happened is the lawyers came and then there was like, and sometimes, bro, like when you feel a certain way, you receive feedback from your lawyers and them going, yo, there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, this is actually one of the better deals we've seen in the country. That's not always the best thing to hear, right? Because that is the truth. The truth is the collective deal that that he was on is bro. I mean, it was very good. Like it was actually, to be honest with you, I got in trouble for that deal. Yeah, my MD sat down to me and said, like, I remember Dale saying to you and I, going like, hey, you guys don't wanna make money, bro. Yeah, you know. And I was going, damn, I thought that was a good move, but it's like. That's actually how good the deal was. It was very much in favor of Zooci, right? Yeah. It's just that when you don't feel that way, you might think that it's not, and that's just not the truth, right? So to get to that point, so like recently even, bro, like recently this year, this is why we're only speaking about it now, because at this point, I don't honestly, Doc, I don't even know, like what else we can do. So we got to a point where we had this conversation. Again, we reignited and said we just have to deliver the first obligations. After that, we're happy to go. Partaking in the release them, we roll them out, boom. He then sent a WAV file, like an hour-long WAV file of about, I think the total was it was about 16 songs, Fred, or 17, 18 songs.
Just under 20.
So he sent one long WAV file of the music and then a track list, right?
An iMessage initially.
Yeah. Like
a stereo
long,
file. They can't split nothing.
Like all the songs just like that, so you can't see track. But then you saw a track list, right? And then we received that, and then we were like, okay, it's a step, right?
Yeah.
The next step is to say, what we did do is we sent through a credit sheet and we just said, hey man, because this would be the responsibility of anyone distributing the music, we need to have the exact credits of who these people are, what kind of financial demands this producer wants or this feature wants. Because at that point, like, you don't have like a fluid relationship. So like if Mecca pulls up to me and says, yo man, I got Stogie on this joint, like I'm going to say to her like, oh, so did you and Stogie speak about the business? She'll be like, yeah, no, we're going to do an exchange on verses. Cool. We know what that is, right? I don't have to necessarily like because you have to be strategic and careful about the way that you deal with people in the industry, and especially artists, and you want to respect their craft. You want to pay them what they do. 100%. You want to do the right things, but sometimes you also want to make sure that if the artists have a relationship, that takes the precedence, you know, and then they figure it out also with each other, because that's also a healthy way to encourage the collaboration of the business side, right? Yeah. So we sent through the credit sheet. That never came back. We never got the WAV files. Everything went quiet. And we're in a position now where we just haven't heard anything back. And it's just like a thing of like, there's this idea out there that we are holding Zooci back from dropping.
Yeah.
But that's just not the truth. We've been trying to get the songs to release the music so that we can part our ways quite amicably as much as we possibly can, but that just hasn't happened. And then the second thing that we've heard is that nobody else can drop music if they've worked with Zooci, which is also just not true. Because I was on the phone with Kilo before the album dropped, and I've been asking Sony for months, bro, when are you dropping this Kilo album? Now we haven't received the songs. I said, yo, when you guys get them, just clear the production with us.
Yeah.
No problem, bro. Kilo must release. Spoke to Kilo, said the same thing to him. So it's like if people are working with Zooci, have features or have production with him, the only thing that we're saying is you have to honor the contract, which requires a clearance of a verse or a clearance of production through the label
Through Stay Low,
that is working with Zooci officially on paper, right? That's it. If
You'll clear it. You're not.
we clear it.
We have.
We clear it. We have done that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
we have
what.
done it since everyone that does, we just clear it.
To the general public, it does. The idea is that you guys are stopping him from working.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, because that's the narrative that they put out there.
Yeah.
Because isn't that the one that's easy to believe?
Exactly.
It kind of is,
Because labels do that.
but also the less frequency of him dropping kind of adds to it.
Yeah. He's
You
not
know
dropping
what I
because he's
mean?
not sent the music.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying
That's
to say.
his
to you.
choice,
My
literally.
brother, what I'm saying to you is like, if he sent us 10 masters in January,
Yeah.
they were out.
Yo, he you know, I don't know what that was, but a year ago, whenever it was, he put out a song, you know, on YouTube that I guess was supposed to be like a
Yes,
diss song.
I was
or
gonna
whatever,
ask
right?
about
yeah,
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm saying if he would have sent that, we would have cleared it.
Regardless of
I'm saying.
Like, except for the
Keep it a beat.
Listen, hold on.
I would have respected it though.
No, listen. Listen. This is what I'm trying to say. Listen. Hold on.
That's hilarious. I did tell Fred that though.
It's a joke that we've had, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a joke that we've shared, right? Like to stress and emphasize, right, how much we're not stopping Zoo from dropping music.
Come on, bro.
I understand that to the uninitiated
Those are our
and the
assets.
average person, you know, doesn't
Yeah.
understand the way that the music industry works.
Yeah.
And in this case, it probably fares in his favor,
Yeah.
right? Because there's all this convolution and this gray area, and you start throwing around music industry jargon.
And also, unfortunately for you guys, once you add Stain Entertainment into the chat, it
Right.
becomes like a
Absolutely.
David and Goliath.
Conglomerate.
Absolutely.
A David and
And-
Goliath
big
kind of
bad label.
situation.
And I'll say that,
Yeah, bro, I get it.
and I'll say this about that.
Yeah.
Well played, bro.
Yeah, good
You know what I
comment.
mean? Like well played. And
I'm not gonna lie. The part where you kind of dropped the ball on the play though, the
Yeah.
propaganda one,
Yeah.
the one where you said, "I signed the contracts."
Yeah.
Yo, that one is
That was
crazy,
wild. That was
bro.
wild.
That one is like.
Let's talk about that.
I'm not
letting
Let's
them
talk
walk on
about
the-
that.
I'm not letting y'all walk on the. You would have cleared it.
No.
I cleared that up. I'm saying that's a joke.
Because it's all for YouTube, right?
No, yeah, it is. It is.
no, that's
the lawyers.
No,
took
so
it-
the lawyers. you guys-
but what my point there, right? My point there is that he did it without clearing it.
Yeah, if he did
that's
it,
the point that I'm making.
If he took the right steps.
But also to be fair, he didn't release it on monetary platforms.
Yeah,
Okay, so he
yeah.
did drop it like SoundCloud, YouTube,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
This is the thing, guys, and this is the truth. Would we have cleared the song if he had sent it to us? No, because he's lying.
Yeah, it's
Like, what I'm trying to say is, you're just lying, right?
yeah,
So like, okay, cool. Okay, the parts where you said,
So that's
I
a
don't know
fl-
what he said about me.
So-
I think
so-
he called me a pussy or
so
something
that's a
like
flat out lie that like
No, it's a lie, bro.
Dog, hold up.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
He called me. Hold on. Let me say something. He called me a couple of names. He said I'm a vagina. He said I'm a vagina. That's what he said. Yeah, dog. He said, listen to what I'm saying. Hold up, bro. Hold up. Like that's what he said. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
I remember something like that. Now, what I'm saying is, you see that part, bro? I don't mind because when I see you, say the same thing, right? I'm all good with that part. The part where you bring the business that we do credible, integrity.
That's the one I
That,
want to talk
so
about.
that part, the part where we do business, the part where you defamed a movement that represents a lot of artists positively, impacts the South African environment and in music industry positively, has created an evident change in the way there's opportunity for artists. When you do that one there is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Calling me names, bro, and doing that thing. You know what, bro? I didn't get into the music business to not get into a couple of scraps. It is what it is, bro. Like I'm not soft. I'm not a soft guy, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? We can get it on, dog. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's no problem. So what I'm saying is,
Pause that, man.
yeah. Especially after the vagina one. Yeah.
I will say this.
But it's just that part that I will be honest.
Yeah.
Of course we wouldn't allow that, bro, because that's defamatory. And the reason it was taken down, and we got even to the point where there was apology letters drafted but not signed.
Yeah.
Saying, yes, we acknowledge that this is a defamatory statement. Like, bro, all of these things have happened behind the scenes. The only reason we're speaking about them 2.5 years later is because at this point, we actually don't even know what the next step of communication could possibly be. Because there's been probably a total of about 5 opportunities for this to be put to bed through just submitting the music for release. Done.
Fred wanted to say something.
No, I was just gonna say real quick. Like, I will say this. Because Vaughn mentioned that this whole thing stemmed from a personal fallout, right?
Yeah.
There was some conflict between him and Zooci. So we have we're always on the same time, right?
Yeah.
It's like we have different relationships with the artists because of because the way that we engage with them is different.
100%.
Right? It's like he's like Vaughn is a studio rat. It's like he's inside there and whatever. And I'm there as much as I need to be from that perspective, right? But my part really comes in. I mean, it starts in the very beginning, but it really comes in terms of action.
Once the music is
right,
made.
exactly. And so and it's really interesting to me that, because of the frequency of engagement, and I'm just speaking for myself, this frequency of engagement that Vaughn has with the artists in the way that it matters to them the most, right? It's like there's more opportunities for conflict.
Yeah.
Of
Do you
course.
know what I'm saying?
The longer you stay, the
exactly.
more-
So there's
yeah.
more opportunities for conflict because you just spend more time together when you're in the trenches.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess that the frequency of those conflicts then kind of paint this thing like where this guy is like Vaughn the villain, right? And I guess like, with me, I think by default what ends up happening is because there's not that same level of friction. Of engagement, right? Which also friction. It's kind of like, like Fred is like the nice one or like the good one or whatever, right? Yeah, the good cop, right? And it's like, you gotta play to your strength sometimes, right? But honestly, it's and you don't have to comment on this. I'm saying it's actually, if I'm being honest, right? It's actually the other way around, right? Vaughn is the guy, right? That is like, the story that we told in the beginning when he was like, yo, let's start the label. I was like, yeah, but fuck those artists though, right? It's
You are the fuck those artists guy.
Yeah, me. Yeah, because I'm not that guy now.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like, yeah, it was a crazy time back then. I've been through a lot. Right. But it's actually Vaughn is the guy that like knows everyone's birthdays and like goes out of this. Like it's not the same thing for me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't care about the artist. My relationship is just different.
Yeah,
I mean, the guys that we have specifically, those are my family.
Yeah.
Like for real, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but we have a different relationship. And so it ends up kind of being this thing where it's like, it's also convenient that he is a Caucasian man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I am a black man.
Yeah.
And that's that's low hanging fruit. Right? So it's like the minute that there's any kind of like friction, it's very convenient. You bring in the racial dynamics. You bring in the long history of labels being exploitative towards artists. You do all of these things. Like I said, well played, bro. It's like there's a long history that shows us that these are the things that people have done.
Yeah.
Right? On a personal, so I have spoken to Zooci in the last year and a half, maybe, right? It wasn't like we were like friends or whatever, right? We had a working relationship, and I had a lot of respect for Zooci, right? And I think that was reciprocated. And we never spoke after that for that. I was like, yo, we're gonna revert back to what these pieces of paper say that governs our relationship, right? But there was when he dropped that song, right? I texted him. It was the first time I ever spoke to him in a year or whatever that had gone by. And I said to him, man, out of respect, right? I never engaged in this thing. Right, because there's a way that this thing was supposed to be handled.
Yeah.
But you're doing this thing where you're spewing lies, right? And you've put us in disrepute, a business that I helped found, right? And because I've heard the rumblings, and if you're saying that, yo, Fred, I'm good with you, like on principle, bro, like you're not good with me if you're doing this.
Yeah.
And I texted him and I said, yo, there's an easier way to do this. If your goal is really to get out of this, right? Like, let's talk about it. And then like that thing kind of fell apart. We texted kind of back and forth. And then from that point onwards, I was just like, I think it's a weak move, bro. Like, honestly,
A weak move from who?
From Zooci. Yeah, I think it's a weak move. I think that rallying people behind this specific cause, right?
Yeah.
And taking advantage of a country that had been under an oppressive regime for a really long time, right?
Of course.
And roping that into your whole rhetoric. I think it's a weak move, bro.
So,
and that's just me. I'm saying that's just me speaking as Fred, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yo, you don't fuck with us, and you had this issue and you wanted to get us. It's like, that's cool. Like, we can deal with that. We've been dealing with that, like, and following the proper protocols and processes. But that is like the kind of thing that can, be irreparable.
Yeah.
And we take our work very seriously. We take our values very seriously. And I've said this before, you know what I mean? And it's like that one, I was like, I can't say that I saw that one coming.
Yeah.
And I think that's a weak move.
This is speaking just out of curiosity. Is there no figure that you can put on paper and say, just give us this much, you're out of your contract?
There is. That's also one of the options. It's like, would we just present that? No. Would there have to be a constructive conversation around getting to a place like that?
Yeah.
Yes. That specific conversation is one that we've been trying to initiate for 2.5 years. Let's get around a way to find a solution according to the constructs of this deal that we are in, that we willingly all got into. Let's discuss that. And would there be an option of a buyout of sorts? Yes. Would it have to be a discussion? Would that number be something that we just thumbsuck? No. Would we evaluate it through the correct systems? Yes. It's like, of course, bro. Of course, that would be the case. And just to add to that, it's like, the unfortunate part about the situation, and I think why we'll probably do this podcast and just probably not talk about it again, is because, bro, we have experienced a lot of people that we've barely met have an issue or have some sort of resistance to Fred, myself, whatever, mostly me, which is quite sad, because when we look at the South African industry, we want to do a job for this industry, right? You think the bridges we're building and the things we do and the stages we build and the festivals we host and you think that stuff is not to advance the agenda of the South African music industry, bro. Of course it is. But when you start to look at like what people will decide or what makes people decide who you are without context, it makes you wonder, bro. It makes you think twice about certain things that you want to do, that you want to try and get done, that you want to include people in. Because the minute you start not thinking like that, what happens is because of the way that people have started interpreting this specific issue, what happens is you also force us to interpret it that way. We also need to think twice, because it's like, who are we letting into a space that we've sacrificed to build? You know what I'm saying? And that sucks, dog. That really sucks, bro. Because there's a lot of amazing opportunity that we think exists. And it's not to say it's dead. Like I'm saying to you, bro, I'm on the phone with Kilo. I speak to him. We actually shot the Marcus Harvey. They shot a video
at Marabi Club, yeah?
Yeah, bro. Like, he's been around us. And it's like, played us some songs. Like, okay, dope. Because and I've said to him multiple times, my brother, there's anything that you do, you just got to go through the channels. Yeah. You know, what's echoed back isn't always that same understanding, right? And it's like, that's such a weird thing, because actually, there's absolutely the truth of the matter, right? Forget how anybody feels, is that we've never been in the position where we've prevented anyone from releasing music, from releasing production that's been made by Zooci. Nothing. There was a song that we had taken down earlier on that it was a song that Zooci had produced or had featured on Audio Mark's song, Walk on Water. The song was taken down because there was a direct conversation between the team, Audio Mark's team that released the song, and said, guys, please, here's the contract, please sign this contract, and then everything's fine. That was completely ignored. that was because I think that there was a discussion that happened between the artist and not the label. And then when that happened, our lawyers were like, fundamentally, we have to stick to the agreement. Otherwise, this stuff spirals into an unending mess.
And you undermine your whole position when you don't do that.
And that's not something that like Fred and I are sitting there and doing, dog. It's just how business works, right? So when you understand that, we have to respect the confines of this thing. Just like, do you think that it's a personally wonderful experience for me to, and well, it won't be me because we also excluded me from the process of dealing with Zooci should he want to deal with Stay Low. But for Stay Low to receive an album from a guy or a project from a guy that defamed us, relentlessly lies and talks shit about us, about everybody involved with us. Like, do you think it's a pleasant experience having to receive that music, listen to it, absorb it, and then roll it out? No. Will we do it? Yes. Why? Business. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Do you think we're sitting here like super excited about that shit, dog? No, bro. But we would do it because we would honor what business is about. That's what people also don't understand, right? We would do it though. Is it a comfortable experience for him to want to submit it to a label that he had personal fallouts with? No. But should it happen for the business sake? Yes.
Yeah. And part of business is that there's financial obligation and financial gain.
Yes.
With this relationship being so tainted, do you still feel like it will be, what's the word when? Beneficial.
Yeah.
To the label to put out music that people might end up just saying no because there's this whole thing that you are stopping Zooci from putting out music, and then when you finally put out, people are like, nah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think at this point is probably to consider that, right?
Yeah.
At this point, but does that mean that there isn't a negotiation that happens around what is due for the business side of the relationship? No, it doesn't exclude that, bro. There must be a way that a negotiation happens. You know, either way. But to answer your question, like a little bit more with a little bit more context, I think if we just reversed a year ago,
it could have been a
yes,
absolutely.
it could have been fine, bro. Because that's what we were trying to do for 2.5 years.
There needs to be. I said this somewhere else. Is like we're kind of fighting against ourselves in this way. Is like, you know, to speak about business as a foundation for music. It's weird because it's like everyone wants things to be better in the music industry, right? But the minute that anyone tries to implement some structure, some protocol, make sure that things happen the way that they're supposed to, it's immediately taken with this thing of like you're trying to suppress the artist. Yeah, it's made of contempt. You're trying to suppress artists. It's like at what point, right, do we hold each other accountable, right? And go, hey man, like, because we're not devoid of talent, like in South Africa. No. Talent is in abundance, bro. Structure. It's like you could close your eyes and point in any direction, right? There's talent everywhere, right? But
I mean, that's not saying anything about Zooci talent. Zooci talent is high level.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not even talking about. I'm not talking about Zooci. Whoa, I'm not talking about Zooci.
He's not talking about.
I'm not talking about Zooci, right? So we've kind of veered off to speaking about business, right? Speaking about business as the framework.
Incredibly,
he's incredible, bro. Like not taking that away from him. Like business as the foundation and framework through which artistry can be explored and can progress.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
It's like, at what point are we going to start holding each other accountable? Everyone wants things to work. Everyone wants to, and we look over the pond and we go, oh man, but in America it happens this way.
Yeah.
But in the UK it happens this way. What's the other side of that? It's like SZA's, like prior to her album, was crying every day on Twitter, right?
She said, let Punch drop that shit.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I understand, right, that like the avenue to the artist, to the consumer, we sympathize with the musician, because they're the mouthpiece, right, to us directly, right? Exactly. The label doesn't have a voice like that, and this is not like a, like pro, like, I'm not doing that.
It just is the way it is.
It just is the way it is. I'm saying like we don't have the avenue to the consumer like that, right? But I'm saying like there's no way for us to do things better, for us to be efficient, for us to grow as an industry without more structure, especially here, right? And the moment that you start to implement
the
anything
structure.
like that, it's seen as a trying to
Like a hurdle or like a-
restrict.
yeah.
It's you know what I mean. And it's like there isn't a way for us to do that without that. That's
Bro,
it. There isn't a way.
I'll add to that just quickly, right? Like Fred's 100% right. The truth is, what we don't have in South Africa is structure. There's the education side of it, right? A lot of guys also don't really understand the music business, right? There's a push to say independence is good and independence is the way to go. Absolutely. Sometimes independence is the way to go. Sometimes a label partner is the way to go. Sometimes being signed is the way to go. Those are all options that are on the table for people, and they're all equally pros and cons. Okay. One of the things that I've experienced is that one of the benefits of working with major labels is that they have governance and structure. What that means is, if you are a featured artist on Sony, they are going to send you your royalty report twice a year. You are going to be able to get your percentage due for your feature on that specific album. It's going to happen seamlessly because they have corporate governance that they need to adhere to. There's an actual way that works, right? Do you guys think that independent labels that are also operating from have producer contracts, pay their producers royalties, pay their producers fees, send them reports, understand because when you receive the full income from your distributor, there's at least between 3 to 5% that you owe the different producers on those records, right? Producers sit there making beats for these artists that then reap 100% of the income, but don't ever see percentages themselves because they don't have the contracts in place. Now, when you want to put a contract in place with an independent artist and a producer you're working with, now that independent artist goes, I don't want to work with this guy anymore. Yeah. Ultimately, what he's saying is, I want to exploit who I can exploit and not pay who I want to pay. Because it's a very weird thing where now the producer looks around and goes, Mike Will made it and Soundwave and these guys are driving cars and own houses. And it's like, yes, they collect their 3% from Drake, my G. They collect the 5% from Drake. They get their 15% on this song because they didn't take a fee, and they built up their catalog of master royalties 2, 3, 4, 5, 10% at a time. And twice, 4 times, depending on the place, they get paid out. They've found a way they are in a structure that allows for them to make income. Now in South Africa, you're going to find producers that have hits, maybe a couple of plaques in their room, but like they don't know how to, the first thing about claiming a royalty, right? So one thing that we do as Stay Low is that we will send our royalty reports. We will pay the producers because we have a system that we've implemented as an independent label to do that, because it is vital that precedent is set. Right? We have to do that. So everybody wants to be part of a successful industry, but don't really want to play the strict role that requires, bro. The strict role that requires is giving people what they're due, paying the producers, giving them their percentages, paying featured artists if you need to, or do an exchange, or but they must get their royalties, they must get their publishing, those things must be in place. And the more push there is for independence, I think that there's a bit of a warped understanding of what the responsibility of that is. If you want to be independent, just also make sure you do good business. Otherwise, you're actually worse. You're actually worse than the majors.
For sure. Yeah.
In the way that you treat the people that work with you. You don't want to do that, bro. That's weird.
Yeah. Okay. I want to track back a bit because, all that was valid, but just back to Zooci a bit. In terms of the contract, is it like obligation thing, or is there also like time attached to it? Let's say in a year or two, he might be out. Yeah.
So ultimately, it's obligation. So there is a time period that you would prefer a first term being completed in, but should the first term not be completed from an obligation perspective in the desired amount of years, if let's say it's 3 years, 4 years, or whatever it is, then it just extends until the first obligation is met.
So it can extend for life.
So it's ultimately the way that we finish the contract is through negotiation or the delivery of the first obligations.
So they can drag it for as long as they want, basically.
Yeah.
So what's happening now, ne? You're not getting the album. He's not releasing the music.
Yeah.
And by my understanding, Gabelo, tell me if I'm wrong, there's laws and stuff. Why not just come up with that paper with the money? Like, I think people serve people papers from court. Like, hey, look, here you go. You've been served. This is how much. Because I don't think it's working for anyone.
No, I agree. But I think that what
just to say,
No, I completely understand that perspective. I think that once again, bro, like to find conclusion to something as complex as this in a conversation is just not going to happen, right? But we can explore explore hypothetical scenarios to a degree, right? So like in that hypothetical scenario, I would just say that, you know, for anything to end in a actually mutually beneficial way, it requires a negotiation. It requires two willing parties to get to a conclusion. In the way that this is felt, the last 2.5 years, we've been wanting to get to a conclusion at every juncture, but have been met with dead silence for months or complete rejection of the idea of progress. Bro, we were like one moment away from just wrapping it up. We were drafting the final termination agreement when he released that song. Yeah. What do you think our lawyers did when they heard that? They were like, bro, this is not good faith. You cannot do any business in good faith. So that happened 1 week apart, eh?
Yeah.
1 week apart. We were actually drafting it. Then it was just like our lawyers were like, and then this song, Nah, you know what? Scrap this thing.
Do your lawyers listen to it?
Yeah, they listen to it. They have to. That's funny though. You know how funny that is though? They're like, they sit with the suits and they bump the joint. Like, oh, that's
and not to mention that, I mean, just materially, it's an expensive exercise. We don't want to do this.
Nah, bro.
Do you know what I mean? I'm saying
this stuff costs us money.
Yeah, we don't want to do this.
But this is the thing, right? What is a very important precedent to set in the music business? If you are emotional about something, it does not mean your obligations don't exist. Yes. As much as we're speaking about independent artists doing the right thing to their producers and engineers and featured artists, etc., we also need to set the precedent to say, like, yo, guys, there's a fundamental principle that needs to be adhered to, is that, like, in business, our emotions do not mean that our obligations disappear. And I think that in order to get to a place where it works for everybody, there needs to be a collaborative negotiation to find a way forward, bro. I think that's what's preventing it at the moment.
Okay, sharp. There's things to be maintained. Quick one, Kabelahadi. There's things to be maintained and whatnot. And then in terms of like this financial investment that was, I'm assuming, was put into Zooci.
Yeah.
Is it that hectic for you not to just chalk it up as a loss? I mean, business, you have profit and loss.
Sunken cost.
Yeah.
I think the answer to that is no. I think that I think it's not worth it to take value off the table without something fundamentally being wrong in the business. Okay. I think that we have to operate on principle, bro. You know, I think, like, on principle, that's not a valuable way to solve this.
But that's on a stay low point, because dropping artists is it's the reality. Yeah. Some labels drop an artist because they feel like the return on investment is basically impossible now. Like, there's nothing that they can gain from the artist, that they just figure that it's better to just cut ties and charge it to the game. In colloquial terms. But dropping an artist is a reality in some labels.
For sure.
In life, it's a reality.
Yeah, it happens, But in employment, at work,
but here,
for sure.
I'm guessing, you know what I mean? And I think for me, like, in terms of what I'd want to ask is in terms of, okay, is there a reality where this is actually solved with egos put aside, number one? And number two, I know you've spoken about emotion and business, you know, put side to side together, you know, and you've harped on the fact that business needs to take the forefront in this. But however, don't you think your emotion also played a part in this breakdown between artist and label?
Yeah, I do think so, bro. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think that do I think that in certain moments I could have handled things on a personal level better with Zooci to potentially avoid a conflict? I absolutely, bro. Like, that's acknowledged, and that's not something that I shy away from. I'm not afraid of accountability, right? So yes, I do acknowledge that, and yes, I do think that played a role, right? But I'm not comfortable releasing his music, but I still would if it was according to the business, because what we're in relationship with, what our relationship is in, is a business, bro. It's not Vaughn, dog. I'm not the one deciding whether or not we do this. Stain Entertainment is a company that functions in a way if there's an agreement in place, I'm the vehicle through which these things happen, but it's not my sole decision for anything to just happen or not happen, right? There's an obligation that's required both ways.
Yeah.
And because when you do business and you invest into certain things, there's an obligation on the return of that. That return is product, right? Because this is the same conversation that you could just have with the artist. You could easily say, but just send the album.
Yeah.
Because as easy as you guys are saying, you could drop the artist, and just move on and call it a loss. But also you send the album and call it a loss.
Fair.
True.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that isn't a conversation that could happen. It could happen.
100%.
But it has to be a conversation, bro. There's certain principles that have to take that have to take precedence. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. And basically, you don't see a reality where.
Oh no. I that is what we've been hoping for. Honestly,
that's up to Zoo.
Oaks, we've been gents. I swear to God, we've been hoping for that type of thing to happen for the longest time. The reason we're speaking about it now is because it's like, okay, well, at this point, like we get too many questions, too many weird vibes. The longer we're quiet, the longer there isn't.
The longer you guys are the bad guys.
There isn't another voice, bro. So at this point, if we're the bad guys after you have some context from our side, that's also fine.
Yeah.
Like. You can also just have your own idea of who we are and what happened.
Yeah.
But at least you have some more information. And that's really what this is about, right? It's not about this being any kind of conclusive thing. It's like, bro, we actually here waiting for the music to be submitted to release or having a conversation around what is an amicable way of figuring this out for the bigger picture.
And then what does that look like, given that you guys are guys that are like greatly involved in like the creation of the music? When music is turned in, then what do you say? Do you give feedback? Is there room to say, okay, cool, this is actually dope, let's put out as is? Or do you still want to put that Stay Low touch to it?
Well, we never got there.
So if he sends through scoopity poop,
No, so once again, it is a good point. So now I think like the contract dictates that, bro. So in a proper recording contract, because you're in a partnership on the asset, essentially, the asset needs to be jointly approved to a degree, but the label will retain, because of the risk, the final say on assets. You have to protect yourself like that as a business. It's fundamental. Just because of the way that Fred mentioned earlier, there can be an extreme exploitation on a label side, right? And I think like labels have, and over time, businesses have found ways to ethically protect themselves from that, because it can be quite hectic if you don't. So I think that what we would do in that instance is just apply the contract. We wouldn't use any emotion. We wouldn't use any personal touch. I think what we would do is strip the relationship down to absolute bare minimum functionality, and then let that take its place.
Obligation.
This is the other side of that. Is like I would like to believe. I mean, it's happened before, I guess, but I would like to believe that, like, you know, Zoo is someone that holds his artistry at very high esteem.
I don't think he would.
He wouldn't. And that, you know, I'm saying if you know Zoo even a little bit, man, he's like very serious about what he does, right? And it's like, well, once you release that, that's going to be it's going to be around forever.
Yeah, that's, you know,
like
on your catalog.
Like,
I don't think he's the type of guy that would do that.
We wouldn't go out of our way to make it difficult, because like as Vaughn is saying,
we would actually just make it easy.
We're trying to move forward. To the question you asked now, it's like literally we never got there. We were almost there. Right? Yeah. And it's like we've been dealing with the situation as it's come, because it's been on and off and on.
I just think the last mail we received was actually, hi guys, due to the silence from the other side, I just want to remove myself from this specific situation, because clearly there isn't any communication coming back from Zooci's team. So I want to...
And who was that from?
I don't really want to say their name, because I just feel like I want to bring a guy into a conversation that's just unnecessary for the oak. I'll tell you though.
Cool.
Because it's like it's an unnecessary thing. Like, it's one of them things, you know. But he but that's actually the last communication we received, like I think a week ago. Where it was just like, oh man, like
I'm gonna have to.
It's just radio silence. You know,
guys, this thing doesn't look like it's going to work in any way.
Thanks for that observation.
I'll be honest, and I'm sure we're gonna have him on the show. And
Sure.
I don't know what hopefully, and I don't know what he's gonna say, but I can already tell from what you're saying, like this relationship is utterly severed, and there's no. I don't see a win, so I still say I understand it's business. That loss can just be written down and then be taken to the chin and moved on. But also, when he turns the music, isn't there like a promotional aspect that you have to fulfill from your end, putting him on Daisy's stage and whatever, and stuff like that?
No, I mean, I think that.
Smile on Friends.
Yeah. I mean,
Because that elongates the working relationship.
Yes. So I think, like, once again, the specifics of what is required from a marketing promotional activities are not actually specified line item wise in agreement, because it's impossible to forecast what would be the best move at a certain time, right? But would there be obligation for us to undertake the marketing of assets that we are jointly invested in with an artist? Yeah, there would be, bro. There would be some obligations that we would have to take. Would that be a point of negotiation or point of contention for how long this relationship goes on for? Potentially. Would that be something that we would be happy to like discuss a way to make easier, to make shorter, to make less frustrating? Absolutely. Those details, bro, all come down to the part where you receive information back and you can sit down and actually discuss a way forward. Not me though.
Yeah.
Like, because remember, me, I'm out of the picture, dog. Like, I haven't even been involved in anything. It's literally lawyers speaking to lawyers, and then from time to time, Fred, and then Dale's actually been driving most of the communication. I have literally I get updates.
Well, we do hope for a mutually beneficial result.
The severance.
I think we've talked about this long enough.
Yeah. But I'm actually kind of with Wara on this one, man.
Write it off.
Yeah.
It's not my business. It's not my business. It's not my dance company.
I'm just saying, if I'm watching this movie, I'm gonna be on some.
I don't really let it go.
I'll Craig David this thing. I'm walking away.
Because also,
I understand, you know what I mean? It's business. And business also has some ego to it. And precedent is also a thing, you know what I mean? And
I think precedence is more important. It takes a little bit more than the ego side, though.
It does, because I mean, setting a precedent is a big thing, and what people look at as point of reference in how you guys do business will say a lot coming from this. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting movie, because, like you said, all of these things happen, and you have to quantify the damage of having that sort of perception and vibes, you know, around your aura all the time.
But also to say this, bro, like, there's a lot of positive energy around us too.
100%.
I mean, bro, we're not doom and gloom here, bro. We're not in a position where we're going, oh man, this is so heavy. No, bro, it's just an unnecessary thing, right? I promise you now, it's an email in a chain of 100 mails that we get weekly, right? Yeah. It's just something that's happening in the background that we just have to deal with as per whatever can functionally provide a way forward. But the truth is, bro, like, as Stay Low, like, we get a lot of love and a lot of support, man. We do a lot of great work. Marcus Harvey is actually someone that I think, if you just look at it from face value, he had to come to us and make a whole new album.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
So that was a quick turnaround for Stay
Marcus
Low.
is a beast, though.
Yeah, shout out to Marcus.
Marcus is a beast. Marcus locked in with Shooter and Fiji, and they were just like banging our records, bro.
Yeah.
Fiji, man.
Fiji Makeba.
That's another name.
Fiji Makeba is a I mean, that's a god. That's a god, bro. He's in and around, like, the vibes now. I mean, we Fiji has become like just like somebody that you kind of need around in any kind of moments, right?
Yeah.
Obviously Marcus introduced us to him. He's incredible, bro. What an incredible talent.
Incredible.
Yeah. And the combination of him, Shooter, and Marcus, it's outrageous, bro. They're three world-class producers. They were able to cook that album up and figure it out, like, without much resistance. There was a couple of songs that came from back then. All the songs, obviously, that made the album were produced by Fiji and by Shooter and Marcus.
Yeah.
There were a lot of songs we had to scrap and leave because we didn't have access to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
and I think Sichaba was produced by Big Les. We did the business with Big Les.
Yeah.
You know, Marcus
Yeah.
negotiated.
Big Les.
Shout out
We
Big
did a
Les,
lot
yeah.
on the Kilo album
Yeah.
as well.
Big Les is amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Big Les is like, yo,
Incredible.
bro, that guy's a super talent.
Yeah, we got to give Marcus his flowers as a producer.
Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think that a lot of people are too aware of, like, you know, usually when you meet an artist,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're a producer first, it's like, oh, he's a producer rapper, like Pharrell or like Dre or whatever. And then when it's an artist, you go like, oh, he's a artist that kind of produces.
Yeah.
It's like Marcus is the real deal.
Yeah,
like
bro.
as a producer.
Yeah.
I'm
Like
saying
he's-
he's the real deal. I know people don't read credits and they're not into that or whatever,
the man,
but it's
bro.
like that dude is a different beast.
Like I think that like what we're gonna do pretty soon though is we've got a couple of cool ideas for next
Yeah.
year, right? I remember telling you guys that like, you know, we're gonna do this Pretty thing. We're gonna do this K's album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We see where we're at next year. You know, we've seen the Marcus one. Marcus now is gonna do next year. We're gonna really like lean into like presenting a lot of his production skills. Even just in and around like this ecosystem internally, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like some of the stuff he's got coming with K is like fully produced by him.
Yeah.
Bro, it's crazy. Like
Yeah,
he's a different dude, man. He's one of them guys. Like Marcus is one of those guys that we have like a really great relationship with and a really great creative energy with. We get him, we understand the vision. He gets us, he trusts us, you know, from like a creative perspective. And I think the nicest part about the relationship with him and how it's translated is that like we just really get along as people too, man.
Yeah.
Like he's a really solid guy, bro.
Yeah.
He's got a good head on his
Yeah,
shoulders.
great guy.
And I mean, yeah, we're excited about presenting his stuff next year. I think Zulumeka also next year, debut album, also going to be crazy. But we got something interesting coming like soon next year too. It's like it will be a bit of like we'll do something with, maybe we'll give you guys like a private link. It's not like someone that signed to us, but we're working on something for someone just like that we believe in.
Nice.
That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
La, la, la.
You're gonna
just
love
like curious.
this.
I'm curious.
You're gonna
Yeah,
love this.
I'm actually I'm curating an album for him.
Yeah.
Like we'll do it through the vehicle of Stay Low, but he's not signed to us. Yeah. But it's really like, yeah, I'm really excited about that, man. It's just one of those things that I think SA hip hop deserves. So
Yeah.
there we go, and he deserves, you know. So I'm excited about that. Like, and then obviously we're gonna be rolling out like a Hannah Ray project next year. I'm just trying to think of anything else, bro. That if we miss something.
I mean, Handsome Luke, man.
Handsome Luke, we said that in the beginning, drops
Right.
at the
Yeah.
top of next year.
Yeah,
So
Mars
that's,
Baby.
that's exciting.
Mars Baby.
Really fire, bro.
Yeah.
Different approach. Different approach.
That's
It's not some R&B shit.
Yeah. Can't wait, man.
Yeah, man.
Exciting.
So that's pretty much what's coming up. So yeah, bro. It is really positive energy and progressive energy. We really do, for the most part, like maintain and hold good relations with guys. Like I think it's because we're not afraid of like putting our hands up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is being able to just take it on the chin, bro. Take a knock, take accountability where you've been wrong, and just keep it moving and figure it out. Like, and we've never been shy of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you ever see me standing up for myself, it's because I genuinely wasn't wrong. I mean, that's what I would think. You know what I mean? And if I am, and if I genuinely believe that, exactly.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if I am, I'm also super
Open
open
to
to
it.
hearing
Yeah.
you tell me
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
cool, bro. It's really cool. It's a healthy way of operating, especially as men in an industry where it can be quite
Yeah, tricky.
full of shit. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To put it bluntly.
Yeah.
Stay low. Keep
Yeah, stay
firing,
low.
man.
Keep firing.
Yo, man. Like you said, the positive energy is really dope.
2020 Club.
Shout
Yeah,
out
you
to
guys want to pull
2020
up?
Club.
Okay,
Yeah.
guys. So this time, right? Let's do Stay Sober, right? But let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it like a run of things.
See, I like that, and my whole thing about it, right, is the education part of it is very important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you want to make it more like an educational part?
I would love to hit up that part of it. I
So
know
let-
Wariski can hit up the group.
The party.
So I love that too. I think that's a great idea. But maybe what we need to do is just sit down and
Yeah.
structure what that looks like and how you
Yeah.
talk about it, and how you make it bite-sized and
Yeah.
and like impactful.
Yeah.
But I think that we should look at something like that. This is the space we could do it in, right? So we
Yeah.
can figure it out.
Def.
No, definitely. Because I remember there was something that we were supposed to do, but it fell through when the daisies dates changed. That would have been sick, you know. Yo, man. But,
and even when we get some of our guests around, like, you know, shout out Mick Jenkins, we had him around. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we would like to start like doing a little more things, like, you know what I mean?
Sweet. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
These are off-camera conversations. Let's close this thing.
Why you want this one off? Nah, dog.
We've been out here.
Sharp.
Cool.
Thanks, gents.
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah, thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
2020.
Fred, thank you for coming back on the show.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, man.
I mean, our fourth sobering host.
Yeah.
You and Muzi.
Yeah, you and Muzi.
Oh, where is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many times has he been on?
3?
All right, cool.
Damn, I'm catching. I'm 2 now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm catching up.
Yeah, you're
got you.
catching up.
Catch you guys in 2026. Good vibes. Cool.
I'm gonna come back after we win video of the year next year for Lerato by Marcus Harvey, by the way.
And album of the year.
Dope video. And shout out to the documentary as well. I mean, afterwards, like, you know.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fred-
He's trying to close the show.
Oh, my bad.
All right, cool, man.
I just thought I've been on cue, so it's not like I don't want you guys speaking, but just before you get carried away
go.
again, shout out to my moms. Yeah, before you guys start again.
Sharp gents.
Peace.
Thank you.